proper black history. You won't get it nowhere else at all.
Islam is a beautiful religion for the Muslims. Christianity is a beautiful religion for the Christians. As Sabaeans, we have our own culture, our own scriptures, our own way of life, which is Wu-Sabat.
Wu-Sabat is not a religion, it predates religion. So we don't really subscribe to like the monotheistic religions. And even when you get to Africa, you know, people might talk about Egypt or Kemet or these various names, but our ancestors, they actually go back to the stars from the Orion and Sirius constellation.
In the Bible, Genesis, Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
what color were they?
He was a Hindu. Adam was from Atum and Lilith. Those were his parents. We've got their pictures in our scrolls as well. So how do we get pictures? As 9 ether beings, we can travel to different times. We can go backwards in time and forward in time. We can go into different dimensions. We can be channels. I have watched many false teachers pass. I have watched churches who has come not to change the books, but to untangle and straighten and put them in an order that can be read and understood by any and all. No one in the heavens above or below the earth or under earth has the ability to make all of the true untampered scriptures, which are the words of the Most High, so clear. For I do not speak from myself, but the words flow through me from the very lips and hearts of those mentioned in the pamphlets I put forth. Read the scrolls. Don't reject me. Don't deny me. Don't slander me. I am your savior. Come and follow me. Brother at the back, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
You see how it says our savior is here?
Yeah.
Who's our? Is it just black people?
No, not at all. Our, because every race has been sent their own warner. For us, as black people, if you want to use that word, we're not even black, but we know what you mean but when we use that word. So yes, he sent to us, just like every other race was sent their warner, but these beings, they have a message for the entire world because what they teach is for humanity.
That's what Dwarf was about. Sound, right. Nothing else. All we wanted the facts. We've accepted the faith. We had faith in Allah. We had faith in Christ. We had all the faiths we get. We had bags of faith. We had our foot on the radio. We had our knees and forehead on the ground. I mean, we reached out for God, every which way. As a people of color, we've reached for God in everything from, I seen brothers as highly Christians with little ball and knots. We tried everything. Now we're saying we want to ask questions. We want nothing but facts.
In order for the information to turn into knowledge, what has to take place? We talked about reasonability. Without reasonability, you can't transfer or transform the information into knowledge. It is through sound right reasoning how you take information and turn it into knowledge.
And one of the famous things that people who are familiar with him will know, he always said, don't believe me, check it out.
Don't believe me. Check it out.
Says stuff, he can't prove it. Everything I say, I prove. That's what makes me different. They talk about stuff they can't prove.
The man that has made it possible for the Nubianimation to be established throughout the world. He has touched many hearts and has opened many minds to the truth. So without further ado, here's Dr. Malachi Z. York.
They're going to know who I am. They're going to realize by this book who I really am.
What woke you up to the New World Order, these globalist elites and eugenicists?
The main thing that woke me up to it was a writer named Dr. York, a spiritual teacher from Brooklyn. He had a whole community over in Bushwick, on Bushwick Avenue, called the Answer Allah community. Like real heavy into like just studying the origins of religions, of cultures, politics, the origins of everything. And that's how you really get to the bottom of things, when you study the origins of it. So that's what I learned reading his books, and it all came from him.
A series of books he puts out are called Actual Facts, or the master's secrets. But we've also got our own way of life for the culture, which is known as ProdPrada.
Master Teacher's written various amount of books on extraterrestrials. He's got an extraterrestrial. So this would be crash retrieval. This is a crash retrieval in New Mexico. The different descriptions of the Greys, Draconians, Maccabeans, beings from Benetrak, Roswell incident, autopsy of the extraterrestrial, the Teros, cone heads. So they come from the Gemini star constellation.
Now the Teros, who people know as the cone-shaped heads, right? They have 48 chromosomes. And because the human being, or humans, have 46 chromosomes, that's 23 from your mother and 23 from your father, giving you 46. When they mixed with the humans, they produced a being with 47 chromosomes, which basically resulted in what people call Down syndrome. And that's why no matter what race you are, if you have those 47 chromosomes or Down syndrome, then you're going to have the same features regardless of whether you're black, white, Chinese, etc.
So you've got other descriptions here, the Duwaanis as well.
These are the short porcupine looking types of beings because their hair sticks out. They're quite, this is what people get like the story of dwarfs and things like that from. They're very intelligent and they study Shakespear. And so when you start to look at the ailments that people have who have mixed with them, they suffer from something called hirsutism, which is when you have hair all over your body. And this is because of the mixture with these Duwaanis. And the same as what we call the Deros. The Deros are like very obese, fat looking with like an elephant trunk. And you get a lot of people on the planet who are obese in terms of they weigh so much. And it's because no matter how much diet they go on or how much exercise they do, they can't get rid of the weight. That's because, again, they've been mixed with these beings called the Deros. And most of these beings were residing, some have left, but a lot of them are and were residing in the caverns in the earth.
Also dealing with like the webs in the hands. It shows you like the 3 stages from the sperm, which would be similar to the tadpole. Then you have the second stage, which would be when you do the scan of the baby, which would be like 3 to 4 weeks, which would be like that of a Ramadian form of grey. And then the full stage would be where you would be Homo sapien, which would be mammal and reptilian. Most of these extraterrestrials also live in the centre of the earth. You've got the Dunaakials here. These are skulls that they found. A lot of people think that we're making these up, but yeah, this is information that scientists are backing up, archaeologists are backing up. I was doing shopping in Peckham, so I had this inner thought that said to me, yeah, go into the indoor market. So I went in there and met 2 brothers and they started talking about the master teacher's information. By the time I thought black religion or black Christianity, I'm kind of not interested in it, but I bought a video, Roswell video. So I went home, watched that, and then my oldest brother came about 3 days later with one of Malachi's videos called Elohim, and he's talking about us being God's ancient Egypt, how we'd be misinformed. So yeah, from then I got hooked up on it, yeah. He was always saying that, just use the information as like, don't get hooked up on it, but yeah, got hooked up on it, man. Remember back in the days they used to have these Shambhala bracelets. They were called crystals or made out of crystals. So this will be tying into these. See Shambhala. Crystal City. Another extraterrestrial. This person here. Visit the White House so people can do some research on Valiant 4. We see the master teacher's already written about him.
My name's Bas Joined and I manage the Nishat store here in Croydon. I heard about Wu-Sabat or Nubianians about 30 plus years ago. I was visiting a friend, we were just laughing and joking, and then I could hear a voice in the background. He had a videotape of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن كل رسول رسول الله. I bear witness to Allah alone and He has no partners, and I bear witness to all the apostles that come from Allah.
Being a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad through his national representative Louis Farrakhan, I would just like to know is the dress code of bow tie and suits, is that in any way an abomination of Allah's will compared to the Asaru community with white garb?
The dress code of the Nation of Islam serves its purpose in that which Minister Louis Farrakhan is trying to get across to the people if you pay attention to him. He is talking about what the white man owes you. Right. And how you should go about trying to get it. He's talking about the possibility of a return to a place called Nubia. Listen close. I didn't say Africa. Africa is a curse word. Akubaland is a curse word. Break it down. All these are tricks by the devil. Don't fall into them tricks.
That's right.
The word Africa means to divide something. Baraka. To break us up into pieces. And that's why when you get to Mother, the home of Nubia, you find Nigerians, Ghanaians, or Ghana, what do you call it, Sierra Leone, Morocco, Libya, Sudan, Ethiopia. And if you talk to an Ethiopian, he'll say he's not what a Sudanese is. You talk to the president of Nigeria, he'll say he's not what an Ethiopian is. But here in this country here, they're all Christians. And they break their Christianity down into denominations. They're denominations. But they still say one nation under God. And they'll say it's not impossible to divide it, indivisible, they say. But when it comes to us, the Muslim family, we call ourselves Sunni, or Shia, or Bilalian, or the 5% nation, or the Israelite Hebrews, or the Nation of Islam. We all want to be divided. The Christians, as ignorant as we consider them in their teachings, are able to live in one nation and call themselves Baptists, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witness, Catholic, multiple denominations of Catholics exist. Romans, Greeks, the Coptics. But when it comes to Muslims, because of ego, we can't live as one nation under Allah. We can't get in a room together. The Sunnis don't even belong in this game.
That's right. That's right.
You don't belong in this game because you're not saying you're black.
Bring it out, brother.
And if you're not black, you don't belong in this room with us.
All right now.
It's a black thing.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And if you can't see who the devil is, in 1990,
wake us up, wake us up.
If you can't see what the devil is doing all over the world today to people, our people, people of color, then you're blind, brother.
That's right.
And the Quran says you're blind.
That's right.
It says deaf. How are they deaf? Because regardless of how many times Malcolm X jumps up and down, or Noble Drew Ali jumps up and down, or Clarence 13X jumps up and down, or Minister Louis Farrakhan jumps up and down, or Yahweh Ben Yahweh jumps up and down, regardless of how many times black people jump up and down to make you see the white man don't love you. The white man loves his dog more than he loves you. Before he feeds you. You don't see no welfare for dogs, do you? The white man ain't gonna give you nothing. And for you Sunnis, I'm saying, the people that you are worshiping,
Bring it out, bro.
are worshiping the white man.
Come on, that's right. Come on with it.
You flying over to Saudi Arabia to run around the Kaaba and kiss a black stone and worship it, and shake hands with a bunch of pale Arabs. Right. And they call Minister Louis Farrakhan over there. Go ahead, teach. You beg to go. And they invite him over.
That's right.
They pay all the Sunni Muslims in America, smiling and shining. There's no racism in Islam.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah for the Europeans, for the Americans.
Out of all the brothers in the United States, the Saudi Arabians invite Minister Louis Farrakhan, knowing he's teaching from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, knowing that he taught that the white man is the devil and Mr. Worthy Muhammad, you cannot reform the devil.
So I asked, who is he? I asked, where is he from? And he mentioned to me that they had classes in Brixton. And I asked him if he could give me more information. He said that he knows a brother that goes to the classes. So I invited them all down to my place to teach me some more about Wu-Sabat, and about the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, and that was me hooked.
Why were I having those dreams before I got the understanding that I learned from reading the scrolls? Now, pay attention to this answer. Any man you meet that you walk up to and tells you why you're having dreams about what you're dreaming about, don't ever listen to them again. Because they're phony. The reason why you had dreams and what you felt was for you. If I would have walked in the dream with you, then you could have said, let's discuss why this is happening here. Why am I seeing these pyramids? But if I'm not there, that is your message from the Most High to you. And any man who comes along and tries to interpret stuff like why you saw this and why you saw that. And every time somebody asks me, I say the same thing. That was for you. If they wanted me in on it, they would have had me there with you. You know what I'm saying? And in time, because you're here now, you found your way here. Now let the rest of it happen naturally. Don't wrestle with it.
My name's Luke. I'm a personal trainer. I'm about to work with my client, do some boxing, some pad work. Okay, important to stay fit because your cardiovascular is working. Keeping fit is very important to the human health. It's a lifestyle changer.
We're here, Crystal Palace, doing the works, doing a sponsored walk for the master teachers, legal. As you can see, today's, there you go. Show them, free Dr. York.
We're just here today doing a sponsor walk in aid of raising money for Dr. Malachi New York's legal team. I'm going to keep going until Babylon is free. And I've got my t-shirt on today. I'll show you the t-shirt. Free Dr. York. He's innocent. We all know he's innocent, and we're going to bring our master teacher, our reformer, our avatar, we're bringing him home.
About Moisia, we're just here to do the walk today in order to raise funds for our master teacher, Dr. Malachi New York, partner Babiano.
Wu-Sabat, the master teacher, His Excellency Partner Babiano, affectionately known as Partner Babiano, Baba Yanan, and His Excellency Dr. Malachi Z.K. Okran, 33 degrees, over 720 degrees. We're doing this sponsored walk here today at Crystal Palace with the funds going towards his legal attorney fees.
My question is, if Inky was saying here to be ruler over the earth, and Anusin and Lil ruler over the skies to correct everything. My question is, did Inky send you redeeming himself by sending his son Murdoch, showing that he can do things as said to be done, or did Anu send you, my master teacher?
Anu sends Inky, and Anu sends me. Inky couldn't send me anywhere. Because though I am spiritually related to Inky as his son, I reject everything Inky stands for because he opposed Anu. And it was a strong decision because I was conceived through a reptilian wife of Inky as a disagreeable, a warrior, a defender. And I had to change my whole genetic structure recalibrated so that I could work on behalf of Anu, but act as a defender of the innocent at the same time. So I had to be given the ability to kill when killing is not in the Anunnaki's nature. thus it was necessary to be born to Eve, who was a reptilian, that I'd have a reptilian mentality as well as an Anunnakis mentality as far as agreeable, Yah, and disagreeable, Wei. I had to have both of those attributes because this is what you have. You have both an agreeable nature and a disagreeable nature sitting in this room. And I don't mean there are some agreeable people and some disagreeable people. Everybody sitting in this room has agreeable in them and disagreeable. Everybody in there has a little devil in them, and everybody in there has a little God in them. In order for the being to come to you, to raise you up, they've got to have the kind of nature you have so that you can't trick them, because you're very good at it.
Wu-Sabat is basically information on another level, where we actually teach on basically every topic. It's like a university.
And when, check this, and when the woman saw that the tree, so now eyes open, now she sees, that the tree was good for food, it was edible. Nowhere in here does it say apple. There's no apple in here. Somebody stuck apple in there. In Sunday school, apple got in here. Apples are not that old. There's over 1,000 species of apples. What kind of apple was it? Was it a Mac? Well, if you ask that question in church, the reverend will get mad at you. The Sunday school teacher will report it to your grandmother, because your grandmother's the one that whip your ass about church. Your mother just says, stop acting up. But grandma says, come here. Bring your little ass over here. Don't ever say that again in church. If you question, she'll tear you up with that switch. You know that switch I'm talking about, that singing switch. You hear me? Just because something inside of me, something says, Ma, you know, well, if Adam and Eve were the only people on the planet and they had 2 sons, Cain and Abel, where did they get their wives from? What? You little heathen! Go to your room. That's where it started. That's where the block got placed in. So when I start talking about you, you start going, ouch. Even you grown, you still get that sound. Your mind is conditioned not to question this book. So you start saying, that man crazy. No, this man got beat so many times that his grandmother's arm got tired. And then she said, what do you want to know, boy? And she said, I don't know. That's it. After 15,000 beatings and 250,000 whips, I said, that's all I want to know, Grandma, is that you don't know and Reverend Porkchop don't know either. That's all I want to know. All I want to know, does somebody know? I don't want to, you know, who are the people in the land of Nod? Where did they come from? The Bible says Cain left the garden and went to the land of Nod, and nobody was on the planet but Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. So if you go to the land of Nod and nobody was there, what's the point? Is it me? Is it only me? I mean, am I crazy because I see things like this? Well, if I see things like this, and God has provided me with an audience of millions of listeners, then God must want me to talk to you. He must want you to hear this now. It must be time to hear it. Because people are coming to NoopooH from all walks of life. We got people in Russia, all in Malaysia. In Nigeria, there's a conflict going on because our people are spreading it over there and the Muslims are getting mad. All out in Ghana, South Africa, all the way over to Japan even. They're asking, will you put the books in Japanese? I said, if I could, I would. But I can't, so I shan't. But in the event that someone does, or do, you got it. Why is it time to know the truth? Can I dwell on it a little more? Who was Cain afraid of killing him? When he told God, you know, the burden you put upon me for killing my brother is too great. Anyone who catches me is going to kill me. Anyone who came, nobody's on the planet except you, your father, your brother. Well, you killed your brother. He wasn't there no more. So just your mother and father and you. Who was he afraid was going to kill him? And this opens the can of beans to the reality that the planet had people on it before Adam and Eve. Now, archaeologists and paleontologists all recognize that. But Reverend can't teach you that, because he'd have to give up that Cadillac. Because he cannot explain who these people are. But we talked about a part of the Bible here in Genesis where it says, and the gold of that land is good. And it takes thousands of years for gold to process it, not even more than thousands of years. For coal and earth to crush down and become diamonds. But the Bible talks about the diamonds of God. It talks about gold in Genesis. But the Christians will tell you that the Bible is not more than 6,000 years old. Stretching it in Islam to 10. But it takes millions of years for Mother Nature to make gold. So how is it in Genesis that the gold of the land of Ethiopia is good, and man wasn't even on a planet a hot week in Genesis? The planet must have existed millions of years before Adam and Eve in order for God to say the gold of that land is good. There must have been people on the planet Earth in order for Cain to find himself a wife. There must have been evil people before Adam and Eve and the serpent if Cain was afraid of somebody killing him who God didn't know. God's information was limited. God didn't even know those people. The Bible says there were giants in Genesis chapter 6. There was giants in the earth in those days. Who created the giants? Because if Adam and Eve were not the giants, and they were created in the image and after the likeness of God, then the giants were bigger than God. That means the giants was Allahu Akbar, not God.
It doesn't say that. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say, but I didn't have to
in the original translation?
In the original translation.
What does it translate as?
That's what I'm saying, where it says, where people are saying it says you can eat meat. The word meat is not meat as in...
Are saying translate as herbs or greens? And
exactly. I'm going to let my sister introduce herself because she's a master chef.
Yes, I'm Chef Shaloma G. I'm a private chef. You can find me on Instagram or Google chefshalomag.com. I do meal prep, I do 3-course meals, weddings, buffets, corporate catering, the lot. So if you're interested in any caterers, just holler at me.
Nubians are professionals, you know, we don't just read books and just talk about the doctrine. We live this in our everyday life, so the food we eat and how it's prepared, and you know, we're also gonna tell you more and show you more about our lifestyle. So yeah, let's get into it.
If you a European, then your ass is son of Canaan. You was cursed with leprosy, cave dwelling with the cave. Had the power for 6,000 years, time for the repayment. Neanderthal run up legal onions on the pavement.
2 medium onions.
What onions do you prefer? You see these red ones or those ones? Which ones do you normally use?
So that depends on the dish as well.
Oh, okay.
So red ones are better in salads where you just want it to look pretty and more colourful. Or like skewers.
Okay.
And then white ones for everything else, curries, all that kind of stuff. So more time it will be the white one.
Okay.
But this is more specifically because you want colour.
Colour, okay, but they're literally no different really between them.
Not really, no. And you can sub it for that if that's not there. These are more for fancy dishes, shallots.
Yeah.
Because of the shape and stuff, and you can cut it thinner. If it says organically grown, that's when it's catching you out, because then the seed might not be organic. But that just says organic period.
Then it's fine, All right.
Carefully grown, strict.
Feeling waking up and can't escape it. The evil reptilian gave his power to the beast, and the cursed sons of Canaan out of time they on the lease. What you must understand, the Canaanite is called
so
a
the
beast.
quinoa is more healthy for you, so that's more of a natural grade, and it's better when you're on a gluten-free diet. And then the brown rice is natural as well, and it's good. And then you got the processed regular white rice. Today we're getting brown rice and quinoa. So they're both healthier grains. So I was actually told this from one of my clients. So it's called Yucca. And you can scan anything and it tells you, here we go, so it's told you it's 85 out of 100, it's excellent. No harsh hazardous substances, it's organic, and everything's green from the energy, sugar to salt, so then you know it's a good choice. But then if you scan something like this maybe, it's telling you that it's poor and it's got some harsh additives, 4 high-risk ingredients, look at that. Avoid. I've got the flaxseed as well, cold milled, good source of protein, fibre, omega-3. Yeah, and it's organic as well, brilliant. But yeah, that Yucca app, you gotta get it, man. So like it will tell you if something could cause cancer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you read the back, it won't be listed.
Yeah, because they use the E numbers and stuff as well.
To cover it up, innit?
Yeah, so you won't know what it is. There is also a science behind the types of food that are for the male and the ones for the female, as taught to us by our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York. So as you know, he emphasizes that the men should eat red things, okay? Red foods, and there's a science behind that, and the women should more have the green. It doesn't mean that male can't eat green things and females can't eat red things, but when you start to look at the science behind it, it's to deal with the vibration and the frequencies as well, because the master teacher always has deeper and deeper levels when he explains things to us. So when you look at the green and you look at nature, that is all green and that vibrates with the heart chakra. So obviously the woman being more emotional, being the nurturer, the carer, and when they prepare food, that comes from a loving, nature of being, like I said, the nurturer. So you get vitality and nutrition from foods when they're prepared with love. In terms of the energy, it's no coincidence that when you look at the green for the types of, things that women should eat, you're looking at things like spinach, broccoli, cucumbers, again, watery foods, because cucumbers have a lot of water in them, and it also deals with the chlorophyll, because you know that plants, they get their energy from the sun through photosynthesis, and their equivalent to us having blood will be the chlorophyll, and so that's why you look at anything to do with green. It's very rich in chlorophyll, and it detoxifies the body. The oxygen, you get more oxygen from that type of food, you get more energy. So yeah, it's all about the science behind the green foods for the women. It also helps with the women they have a menstrual cycle. It can help to harmonize that, because some women have really bad cramps, during their cycle, and a lot of that also has to do with diet. So it's important to, if you want to eliminate going through those painful, monthly cycles with cramps and so on, to look at your diet. Eating green will align with the Earth's frequency, because we deal with the tones, FAC, and we explain that, the A is a resonant frequency of the body, and the F is nature. So again, when you're dealing with green foods, dealing with nature, that's because it's vibrating at the right frequency that will help nurture you, energize you, and empower you naturally to be in harmony and heal with nature. Whilst the red, that deals with the root seat in terms of the vibration. And when you look at that deals with procreation. It deals with the male being able to, provide that life force in terms of the semen or the sperm that produces life. And it's a masculine color as well. It is to deal with protection, security, and so there is a science behind why we eat those foods. And this is what we're saying, that when you're looking at what you're putting into your body, it's also about the vitality. So meals are supposed to be light and nutritious, and this is why we eliminate the blood meats and foods they've got life in the blood, because ultimately the life is in the blood. And so when you consume the blood, it's actually a longer process to digest, but you're taking in the energies that come with that flesh, in terms of the spirit that is in the blood. And if that animal experienced any traumas and during its when it was being unalive, then you're going to take that energy into you as well.
Today we've got the gender neutral foods, so this is not for women or just not for men, like everybody can have. So the reason why it's healthy as well is because everything today is vegan. There'll be alkaline ingredients, gluten-free ingredients. So gluten-free means it doesn't contain any gluten, and gluten is a substance. It's literally a glue-like substance that damages your gut villi. So it's best, I'd say, for everyone to avoid that. Even if you don't have any immediate reactions to it, it's not good for anybody's diet and gut in general. So when you use gluten-free alternatives, then you're living a healthier diet, a healthier lifestyle, and you'll notice a big improvement in your gut health. Vegan just means anything that's plant-based, that has no animal byproducts whatsoever. So there's no dairy milk, there's no eggs, there's no cheese used in the ingredients. Then organic are things that are grown naturally without any GM influences. So we've got some carrots, we've got some peppers, onions, cucumbers, blueberries, sweet potatoes, kale, porridge oats, brown rice, agave nectar, olive oil, seasonings, almond milk, quinoa, and cherry vine tomatoes. So out of this, we're gonna make 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 3 dinners. Okay, so when I'm washing my fruits and vegetables, I like to use vinegar or some type of veggie wash, preferably apple cider vinegar actually, that'll be better. But today we've got this balsamic. So I just pull it all over the fruit. Then I use some filtered water. Make sure it's completely covered. Give it a little mix, get right in between everywhere. So the blueberry is completely clean. And you just leave it to set. And then once you've left that to set in water for a bit, you just completely drain them. And then they're ready to use. So now I'm going to cook some of the brown rice for our porridge of blueberries. Empty it straight into the bowl and give it a wash. I'd say about 4 times with the filtered water. And give it a stir as well, get all the starch out. Also prevents it sticking together and being soggy when it's finally cooked, as well as also cleaning it. So this is about how much water I'll need for the amount we've got. So it's just covering the rice by about 1 inch. Slide it to the left, pull it for about 12 minutes. And then I'll leave that to do its magic. So now we're gonna do the oats porridge. So with the porridge, I'm gonna do 1 cup of oats to 2 cups of organic almond milk. Then I just turn that onto a high heat until it boils, and then I'll turn it down to simmer. Because we're using organic oats, it will take slightly longer to cook because the pieces of oats are more thicker. This is not your instant. Yeah, so just waiting for it to come to a boil before putting it down to simmer. The lid on makes it hotter, so it brings it to the boil quicker. So that's already come to the boil. And now just leave it on simmer. It's coming along really good. Nice and thick. From judging by eye, I would say it needs a little drop more of milk. And I'd say that'll be ready in about another minute. So it's just a 1/4 cup of blueberries. And then we put some very healthy agave nectar on top. So this is agave nectar. This is a good replacement for syrup or honey or maple syrup, but it's more organic and it's better for the body. You've got your porridge. If you wanted to, you could put some cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla pod in here, flavor it up a bit. And I'm just pouring it straight into the bowl. Sprinkle your blueberries on like so, and a drizzle of agave. You've got a nice healthy breakfast porridge, and optionally I'd say sprinkle some cinnamon as well. And there you have it. So now we've got the smoothie. So this is a healthy breakfast smoothie. Consists of banana, flaxseed, some more almond milk, and spinach. So 1 cup. Okay, so now we get our blender. 1 cup of almond milk. And put in our 1 cup of spinach. Then we've got the banana. Flaxseed. This is a very good source of fiber. Very good for your gut. Spinach is full of vitamins, the almond milk is very natural, and the bananas full of potassium. And then I just blitz it. Just to make sure it's all integrated smoothly. Sometimes I take it off, give it a bit of a shake, and blitz it again. And there we have it, a healthy breakfast smoothie. Okay, and that's our brown rice ready. Perfect every time, fluffy and steamed. So again, this is a very simple, easy recipe for the porridge. So you put approximately a cup of almond milk, then a cup of this brown rice that we just steamed. So that's about 3 big hoops. Then inside you want some cinnamon. And we sweeten it again with our agave. Pop the lid on and simply blend until smooth. And then we pop some blueberries on top of here as well. Take our bowl, and here we have our brown rice porridge. Packed with fibre, thick, healthy. It's got the consistency of Weetabix. Handful of blueberries on top again. And if you want to drizzle some more agave nectar. And there we have it. Okay, so now we're going to do the lunches. So we've got a Buddha bowl, which consists of quinoa, lentils and spinach. We've got a chickpea salad, and then we've also got a roasted red pepper soup. Now I'm just draining off the lentils for the Buddha bowl. This is a very simple dish. Very healthy, very nutritious, and very quick to put together. Use a thin water and a little. So roughly you want this portion of lentils. Then you want this portion of fresh spinach. Roughly a cup of quinoa. Just put a little bit of salt over the spinach. Some black pepper. And this dish, very clean, very simple. You can have it hot or cold. So now we're doing the chickpea salad. Organic chickpeas, a lemon. You can use lime if you want to keep it alkaline. Some little cucumbers. So between every dish you want to keep your surface clean just to avoid cross-contamination and anything getting into the food. So I'm just going to drain these chickpeas. They're drained, washed and ready to go. So because it's a salad, there's not really any rules on how you want to cut things. You can dice it, you can julienne, you can slice it. For me, I'm going to cut them into quarters and then dice them. I have to cut the ends off. This is also a very simple salad. So we just put the chickpeas, just use this. So you just want to combine the chickpeas with the cucumber. Put a drizzle of some healthy olive oil. Sprinkle of salt to taste, pepper, then you take a lemon, slice off the corner and just squeeze a bit of the juice in there, and then just give it a nice even mix, and there you have it. It's a simple chickpea salad. Got a bit of colourful garnish on there for decoration. There you have it. So now this is the red pepper soup. So we've just got some cherry tomatoes, some red peppers. We've got stock. I put garlic and ginger in it and some onions. So I'm just going to take out 2 of these red peppers and roast them. as soon as that's done. So when I'm cutting up the peppers, quickest way, top, bottom, slit down the side. And then you just go all around the seed in the middle. And there's your pepper. And then you pop out the top. Ready to prepare. This, let's fry it down. So I just chop it up into smaller pieces. There's no way you're doing this, it's all gonna get blended up anyway, so you just cut it rough. And then I just put them into the oven, a little drizzle of olive oil. Stir that around, close the lid, and now we're putting it on grill for 10 minutes. And we'll just let it do its thing. Right, so with this onion now, I'm just gonna cut it up finely and then saute it down for the soup. And saute just means to slow cook in butter. It gives things strong, better flavour. If you just want to cook some vegetables in a simple way, it gives it more flavour too, and just a bit of salt and slow butter. Because it's vegan today, we're gonna use vegan butter or olive oil, okay? So I'm just gonna cut it. In fact, because it's for soup, it don't really need to be too fine, it can just be rough. It's all getting blended up. So I'll just roughly cut it like this. And there you have it, ready to fry. So you want to grab a nice big wok or a non-stick pan and put the flame on a high heat and let it heat that up. And then you would just slowly melt the butter or put some oil here and then slowly fry it down. So we've got the onions and we're just going to scoop it straight into the pan. And literally just keep stirring it until it's completely cooked off. It doesn't necessarily need to be caramelized or colored. You just want it to sweat off. We're putting half a can of our cherry tomatoes. So this is cherry tomatoes. So this is for dinner. This is for our roasted red pepper soup. Put a little bit of garlic or ginger paste, or both. Then you want to put some stock. For me, this is the most flavorful version of stock cubes that you can buy. Just put a teaspoon because it's very strong. Then I would personally put a little squeeze of the agave for this as well, just to give it a bit of sweetness. Our onions here are sweated off, so we can scoop those right in. I'd say about half of these for the ratio we've got going on. And then you're just waiting for that to go down to 30. So you see there's all colour on there, it's perfectly roasted and ready to blend. Just use a cloth, so I don't burn myself. Got chopped tomatoes, garlic and ginger paste, onions, rose peppers, stock and agave. So just a bit of water, so put a bit of water in there to help it blend. And there we have it, a roasted red pepper soup. There we have it. Optionally as well, you could drizzle some olive oil right on the top like so, and then maybe put some croutons, parsley, fresh herbs, and enjoy. So for our stir-fry vegetables, we're going to use zucchini, peppers, and carrots. So it's roughly a cup of each. I've also got some onions in the pan. I'm going to use brown rice, soy sauce to season it, and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Okay, so it's important to wash your veg because of the pesticides used on there. Also, it can have dirt, and if it's not washed already in the shop, we're not 100% sure, so just extra caution. You just want a bit of every colour, really. And then I like to cut them long ways like this, julienne, when it's a stir fry. Nice and thin. So the aim is to get all the vegetables cut in a similar way. So all long and thin, and then the same with the courgette. So to get the courgette like this, I'll cut them small and then like this. And then long ways. So that's all the vegetables prepared. So back on the pan. All right, so now that the oil's hot, I'm gonna start with the veggies. So we've got our julienne carrots, our sweet peppers, and then the courgette or zucchini peppers. And then I just want to sweat these off first because our rice is already cooked. So basically once it's ready, I can tell because the vegetables will be a bit translucent looking, so they'll be sweated off. The courgettes will be soft, but you don't want it too far cooked because you still want the vegetables to be kind of crunchy. Alright, you don't. Now we're just gonna put some ginger and garlic paste in for flavour, and now they're quite good to go because you see everything's softened but it's still crunchy. Put some salt and pepper to taste. The rice, brown rice. Just evenly stir that so it's all incorporated. Give it a little toss if you can. Drizzle of soy sauce. Also optionally, if you want to give it more flavour, you could drizzle some sesame oil inside, chilies, if you like spicy food. But this is just the simple recipe. And we're coming, it's almost done, it's coming together now. Just stir it again. And that is ready. So now we're doing a sweet potato and kale Buddha bowl. So I'm gonna roast some sweet potatoes in my ninja egg. So just grab my peeler. And to give this some extra flavor, you don't just have to put olive oil, salt, pepper. Mixed spice is really nice with this as well. And a little bit of honey or agave or maple syrup. And then roast it for extra flavor. And this I just slice it into cubes. Cut it in half. Then into 3, and then cube it. And just throw that right into the basket again. Drizzle of olive oil, bit of agave for extra flavour, and I'm going to use some cinnamon as well. Mix it together, and then let that roast for 10 minutes. So with the stuffed bell pepper, I'm just going to slice the top of it off, and you want to keep the whole of it whole, and then just try to take out the middle without leaving a hole in the bottom or anything. So just pop the whole seeds out like that, and then leave the middle empty, and then just wash the whole vegetable. And here we have the pepper prepared, and then I'm also going to grill this. Some oil in it. And what's inside the pepper then? So get the quinoa garlic. Okay, so if I wash this, that's it. We've got everything ready. So now I'm just washing and preparing the kale for the kale and sweet potato salad. So this one I'd use vinegar as well because kale attracts slugs and insects that are harder to remove. So you want to make sure it soaks in there. Just leave it there and everything will raise to the top. So this one you just want to make it easier to eat because the kale can be quite massive and hard to bite in one go. So I scrunch it all together and then like finely slice it up. And this way it's easier to swallow, easier to digest. So here you can see this is much easier to eat compared to this massive bunch. Okay, our veggies are ready. So, one of our dishes was the stuffed pepper, so you can see it's perfectly roasted. You don't want it to be too soft so that it falls apart. You want it to still keep its shape, stay together, but be cooked. Let me just check what was in it again. So I'm just using up what we have spare to stuff the pepper. So, if you can ideally grab a mixing bowl and just combine everything you'd like to stuff the pepper with. So I'm putting a bit of carrots. I'm gonna put a little bit of lentils. And I'm gonna put some quinoa. A little bit of garlic ginger paste. I'm going to put some salt and pepper and some olive oil to bring it all together. Then you just want to give that a stir. Again, season it if you like. Maybe use some spices like cayenne, paprika, and then you just stuff the pepper. So there we have it. Let's get a nice plate. And here we have a stuffed pepper. And as you know, I like to garnish everything. If you're a vegetarian, you could put some grated cheese on top and grill it again so the cheese can melt over, or you can just enjoy it like this. And if you like, just drizzle some balsamic with extra fancy stuffed pepper. And then the last dish is literally just sweet potato and kale bowl. Okay, so we have our bowl, and again, you just want to structure it neatly. So put the kale to one side, season with a little salt and pepper. And then we've got our lovely roast sweet potatoes, which I've covered in the paprika and the cinnamon and the agave nectar. So it'll be slightly sweet. And I'll just put this on the other side. And there we have a healthy kale and sweet potato Buddha bowl, some like a light snack, more like, but it's our dinner today. And that was everything, right? This is our breakfast selection again. So here we have the oats porridge chopped with the blueberries, the cinnamon and agave nectar. Here we've got our shake with the banana and the spinach almond milk. And then here was our brown rice porridge with the blueberries on top. All right, and now we have our selection of lunches. So this was the roasted red pepper soup. This was our Buddha bowl with lentils, quinoa and fresh spinach. Then here we had a chickpea salad with cucumbers, olive oil, seasoning. Then here we've got our selection of dinners. So we had the vegetable brown fried rice with the peppers, carrots, any veggies you like to add. We've got onions in here as well and a little bit of garnish. Then we also had another Buddha bowl which consisted of just sweet potatoes and kale. And then we've got the stuffed pepper, which I put carrots, lentils, quinoa inside and a drizzle of balsamic.
Part of the game, they running 5 drills. I'm off for the chain and I'm hot still. Looking like Scorpion, get over here. Been some people trying to relate, ain't close to here. Think it ain't a sacred place, you done misinterpret relationships, just ain't been worth it. Fool if you think when I don't post, I ain't working. Never too close, I know no things certain.
Hi there, so I'm Chef Shaloma G. What you just watched was me preparing my breakfast, lunch and dinner meal prep. Initially, really, I'm a private chef, again, like I said. So I do corporate meals, birthdays, weddings. You can invite me around, I can prepare 3-course meals, buffet selections, canapes, you name it. Also, back history before I was a private chef, I used to work in restaurants for almost 11 years. I was working at one point for Jamie's Italian, so that's Jamie Oliver, and that was when I was only 18 years old. I was studying at university. He taught me Italian dishes, like all the art and the ingredients used behind that, and that helped me a lot today. Also, recently I worked for Gordon Ramsay just before the pandemic, and this was the Bread Street Kitchen. There I learned a lot of modern European dishes, including risotto, scallops, beef Wellington, which is also one of the dishes on my menus. Okay, so just to let you know, the male food preps, the female food preps, and the gender neutral food preps are all in a link in the description below, so download now. Yeah, so I've been a sister in the mission since birth, literally. I used to be on the land. I met the master teacher when I was a baby, and yeah, I'm keeping up with my prayers, my languages, and my vegan nutritional diet.
So I've been waiting patiently, watching the preparation of all these beautiful meals, and my mouth's watering. I can't wait to start testing and trying them out. So where should we start?
I would say with this fried rice.
Okay.
So here we've got a brown veggie fried rice, a mixture of sweet peppers, courgettes, onions, soy sauce in there.
Wow, looks amazing. All right, here we go. Holding it properly as well. This is how you do it when you're wining and dining at the most exclusive, and here we go. My word, that's amazing. I know you're not supposed to speak whilst you've got food in your mouth, but this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's so nice. No word of a lie. It's just so nice. I don't know what to say. It's fantastic. It's amazing. In fact, let me try some of this green juice. This looks so amazing. Nah, this is so nice. I ain't even kidding. Like it's rich, creamy, but it tastes really nice and healthy.
Oh yep. So that one was the one with the banana, the almond milk, flaxseed, and spinach. So
okay.
Very healthy, very nutritional, but sweet as well.
Yeah, it's nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, so this was our sweet potato dinner.
Okay, let me
just bowl with some kale
over there. I thought this was plantain at first, but it looks amazing. I have to take a bit more. That's so nice. This is gonna be my replacement for the plantain. Oh, that's so nice. Let me try some of the kale as well. Wow.
They're so rich. I didn't think that they would go well together, but they are amazing. One more. Ah, heaven. That's real heaven right there. Right, now remember, we're gonna move on to the language now, because we're showing you different aspects of our culture. So over to the language.
Wow, what is that language? I never heard that before. You know, where does it come from? And it sparks conversation that's definitely necessary for this day and time for people to know about the true first original language.
Welcome. I guess this is the first time, okay, we're doing a question answer regarding our language, Miss Batia. Okay, we just introduced ourselves. I'm Usir Ka'are, and my brother here is...
I'm Haptwy Ray Atam Hatap. We are one of the many student teachers of the master teacher, Parnabab Yananan, affectionately known to us as Baba Yanun, incarnated deity in human form. In the Arabic, someone like himself is referred to as an Ila Mutajasid, divine being in human. In the Hindu, they refer to someone like himself as an avatar. In the Hebrew, they say he would be referred to as an Elo of the Elohim. In the Greek, they will say he's a Theos or an Angelos, an angelic being, a messenger. And in the Egyptian mystery systems, he's someone like himself referred to as a Nitir or a Nazar of the Nazaru or the Nitiru, an overseer. Galactically, he's referred to as the Marzaqum, a Rizkian from a star system called Ilyun and a planet called Rizq. In the personage of His Excellency Dr. Malachi ZK Okran, 33 degrees over 720 degrees.
Right, Ajebol, that's eloquently put by my elder here. I'm going to call him an elder because he's Mukdal. Yeah, Mukdal means elder in our Sabe language. So, you know, there's been a lot of questions online regarding the language, its origin, what is the science of it, how it deals with us as a race of people. So we're going to try and delve into that as much as possible, given the short space of time that we have. But it's worth doing because in this day and time, it's needed. We, as a race of people, even though you can go to the wide continent of Africa, have different dialects of languages. The true language, okay, originated in our motherland, but it was spoken, and we are now reactivating it by way of our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. So the questions is, where did it evolve from? Things like that. And, you know, what does the FAC, we have tones in our language. How does it pronounce certain words? And what does the actual alphabet look like, which we refer to as harufat or harafat. Okay, so you can go on, we're going to mention also that you can go onto certain platforms where you can actually learn the language for yourself and also delve into it and let those tones manifest, because it's the tones that will help liberate our minds, and it also helps reconfigure. But we're going to get into the science of all of that in this time that we have. I want to jump off, Zamal, if that's okay, with the speaking of tongues and the origin of our language. So within this book here, it's called Partarak, okay? And Partarak is basically a compendium of a larger book, okay, which is being put down into smaller forms for us to be able to digest, because it's coming from an out-formation perspective brought by our master teacher, Baba Yanun. Okay, so I'm gonna read a portion, and hopefully you'll understand that you're gonna hear certain hints of other tones in there, like Arabic, you're gonna hear tones of Hebrew, etc. But be assured that when you go and research the language, this predates all of them. It's an ancient Egyptian language, which they call the mystery system, or they call it hieroglyphics. That was the pictorial, but the actual spoken language is Misbatia or Sabian, okay, or Saba. So this is Partarak, the revelation to the Nuwaapians, Partarak, the way. Na tuk shalal lasanat, okay, speaking of tongues. So just an explanation of where the language came from for those who are asking. Number 1, verse 1. Lekum aye Nuwaapu yasar aye Kharadu. Okay, and that translates, for you, my Nuwaapian family, my children. Number 2, beloved and wise are Nuwaapians who choose to learn and to speak our ancient language and tongue. Nuwaapu'i, or as we've updated the tones, it's Misbatia, but it still can be used Nuwaapu'i. The first spoken language on Taha, earth. Most will claim, because they believe in the Torah as the book of creation, that the beginning of life on Earth began with one male named Adam. Okay, so from that they're saying that Adam named everything, and because of the Torah they say Hebrew or Aramaic was the first language. When you go and do your research, you find out that that language that we're speaking predates all of them. Okay, and Hebrew is just pertaining to a particular time frame when a particular person was referred to as a Hebrew, and that goes into the name of Abraham, who's referred to as a Hebrew in the book of Genesis. Okay, so the same thing with the Arabic. The Arabic stemmed by way of his progeny, which was Ishmael, who was the son of Abraham. So as you can see that these languages are stemming off. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what language would Abraham have spoken because he went into Egypt? Okay, so he had to communicate to the Pharaoh in a language. So the question is, what was that language? It must have been something that was there before, because we know that Egypt was the first civilization on the planet. Yeah, the ancient civilization of Egyptian civilization was the first on the planet. Some people argue that it's Mesopotamia, but the original languages and what they call the cuneiform script, etc., originated in Egypt. So the language that Abraham was able to communicate to this Egyptian pharaoh in must have been that language which we speak in this book as being Sabaic or Sabbatic or Misbatia or Nuwaapu or Nuwaapu'i. Okay, so that's just an introduction to that. There's a few more things in here.
It's a very interesting excerpt that was just read there. And the question to ask now is, Adam was the first man, according to monotheism, on the planet. The question is now, what language did he speak and who taught him? Now, if we go back to Abraham, who is regarded as being the patriarch of monotheism, and he didn't speak Hebrew, what language did he speak? Let's start with Abraham. So you have to go back to where he comes from. According to the Bible, he's from Ur of Chaldea, which would be Mesopotamia. So what language did he speak? The language he spoke was called Ugarit. That's the language he spoke was called Ugarit. And he was taught that language, or that language came to him and his people by way of beings referred to as the Anunnaki. Anu referred to as the heavenly one. Na means the Na means to come down. The Na in 50s, key to earth. So Abraham was taught a language by way of a group of extraterrestrials known as the Anunnaki. In the Bible, you see the word they use is the Elohim. Now, going back to Adam now, if you had to give a name for the language that Adam spoke, it would have been called Adamic, named after him. But however, he was taught by, according to the Bible, the Elohim or God. So they're the ones who taught Adam. They wanted to test him. In Genesis chapter 2, you find out how they wanted to test Adam to see how well he could articulate the language. Now, they say that if Adam was the first man on the planet Earth, and religion only goes back 6,000 years and is well known, anthropologists, archaeologists and the like all acknowledge that the first group of people on the planet Earth was Negroid from Africa. That means then that the Africans would have been the first people on the planet Earth to be taught a language. So now, what is that language and how did language come about? So the question to ask is, was language imported or did language come with evolution? That's a question that needs to be asked.
Back to Patarak, verse 83. The first language was in Africa, the language of the heavenly host, or Saba, Siba, Sheba, a language now named after her, the Queen of Sheba. In history, they called her the Queen of Sheba. Muslims called her Bilqis. Hebrews called her Makida, from Ma'at Ka'a Reye, or Hapt Sha'eb Satak, Hatshepsut of ancient Egypt. She was an Egyptian, Ethiopian, Sudanese, Cushite woman. Verse 86, they call her tongue Sabian and Nabatean, which is Aramaic, onto Arabic, Hebrew, and Syriac. They all come from Napatan or Nuwaapu'i. So look again at their Bible, Genesis 2:2, you see Saba, and that translates as the heavenly host. Hebrews, for those who need the references, Hebrews Strong's number is 635. Those that came down from heaven to earth to man, as the brother explained. Yeah, beings came down here and set up the language. So you can see Saba is Saba of Ethiopia, as you can see Sada is Sudan of Africa. Now amongst the Habaru Hebrews, Shashasu Israelites, and Muslims, the person who spoke to the Elohim, Yahweh or Allah is the prophet. These people were responsible for bringing the message of God or gods to the people. So what did they call them in Hebrew from Chaldea? And the word would have been Nabi, prophet. Into the Hebrew, Naba, Nuba, prophecy. Into Nabuah, prediction. Strong's number 5016, verse 93. And the same words in Arabic, Nabi, prophet, Nabwat, prophecy, and Nabuah, prophetical, prophet. What letters or sounds do you see? Okay, you see the letters N and DW. Okay, these are known as root letters. Okay, and then when you add the vowels in, or the tones, not really vowels, they're really tones. When you add the tones in, it then will change or shift the tonation of the word. So you have the word or Nabi, which is, again, put the vowels in, A or I or O, was it E, U, is that right? Yeah, so these actually would then kind of like change the tones and the pronunciation of the word, depending on whether it's elongated or shortened, etc. So going into the root now, for the person or persons who had a message from their gods. So these Nabu or Nabi, these prophets, these prophetical beings, and remember the root of it is coming from Nabatian, which is the root of it is going back to us as a race of people. That of course was taken from Nuwaapians. And what's been explained to us is that when you look at the P, these can be interchangeable. The B and the P can be interchangeable. So sometimes you have the word Nuwab as in Nuwaabian, or Nuwap as in Nuwaapian. The master teacher was explaining to us that when somebody asks us what language we speak, and we say Sabaic or Sabbatic or Nuwapt, he never gave them the meaning of it. And he did that on purpose, because then they have to come to us to get that meaning, because within the Adamic evolution and the Adamic translations of everything, they've given the authority on words. They've given the authentication on words, the authority on words, and they've made it authentic. So nobody will question them. But now they have to come to seek to us to ask us, what does Nawapu or Nawapt means? And he kept that hidden. Okay, but we'll explain what that means. So let me just finish off this, and then that of course was taken from Nuwaapians, Wu Nawap. Hence we call the doctrine, the science, Wu Nawap. Take a close look at the Hebrew, Nebuah for prediction, and the Arabic, Nabuwaya for prophetical. And you can see Nuwaapuyi from these same roots, as the B and the P are interchangeable. 97. So the bringer of God's words, or the one to foretell was going to happen next, had that title. The beings from Sabat, Sirius star system, and Sa'at, Orion star system, who created the heavens, mentioned in their book of Job, chapter 9, verse 1 to 9, Job 38, 1 to 32, and also by another Nabi prophet called Amos in his book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 8.
Yeah, I just want to quickly backtrack, because
there's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there to unpack, but I'll be the reader and he'll be the explainer.
Yeah, what it is that the question is, was language imported or did it stem with evolution? If you go back to 83 now of the same Partarot, speaking of tongues, I read it again, it's got here, 83. The first spoken language was in Africa. The language of the heavenly host, or Tsaba in Hebrew, or the Saba, Siba, or Sheba. The word heavenly host is Tsaba in Hebrew, Saba, or Siba, or Sheba. That alone lets you know that the language was named after those heavenly hosts. As Jamal just read, we came from the Sirius star system, or we refer to as Masbat, the Sirius star, and from Sa'ahat, Orion star system. So the language we say Misbatia today, or Sabaic, was named after those heavenly hosts. They named this language, a language now named after her, the Queen of Sheba. So it's attributed to her, the Queen of Sheba. Now, when we say was language imported or did it come with evolution, this is letting you know here that the language was imported to the planet, first to the Africans, and to be more specific, it was the females who were first taught language on this planet 54,000 years ago. They were taught by beings we refer to as Nadaru, or a scientist, we should say, galactical scientists from the Sirius star system. So when you see the word heavenly host, and they use the word Tsaba, or Saba, or Siba. You can hear the word Sabian or Sabians, or we say Misbatians, or so we say Musbat or Sabians from the Cyrus star system. However, there is a history on how this all took place. It was we refer to term as Nazaratat, or the female deities or female overseers who came and taught the females on this planet Earth, the African females. But first they had to do an experimentation. They had to utilize the African grey parrot and also a particular type of baboon referred to as the Hamadras baboon, to see if they could mimic certain words. Prior to that, it was only the deities or the Nazaru who spoke language. So what had to happen is an anatomical alterations had to take place within the female, such as within the larynx and the vocal cords. That had to take place before they were introduced to the language. So that occurred 54,000 years ago, and after that it was the feminines, we say the feminines, who then in turn taught the masculines this art or this secret of communication with the heavenly hosts and other people. So was language imported, or did it come with evolution? It was imported. And there's a lot that came with language. So I just want to pass it on now back to Mazamal Osir.
Tota. Yeah, so as the brother explained regarding, because we're now moving from the origin, evolution into the science. So it's a natural transitional flow. So the science is that you're looking at a genetic test, as the brother explained, okay, where a particular gene known as the FOXP2 gene, okay? But the FOXP2 gene is in a particular chromosome which gives you speech and articulation. If you have noticed, some families or people who have speech impediments, etc., is because that particular gene has not been expressed fully, or in its, and what the masters always explain is that females are the best articulators. They're able to speak, and they speak faster and they think faster. So this gene is actually to do with your ability to access information very quickly, and also the ability to articulate eloquently and convey information. That's what that particular FOXP2 gene is responsible for, and that's linked into the female, tying back into the genetic alteration that was done in order to house this gene, and then for it to then descend down eventually to the point where the females could then speak at a quicker rate and access information at a faster rate, okay? That's the science there.
Development. With a language came culture and advanced development. Now, if you look at if you go into anthropology, you see that you have certain groups of people referred to as, you then use the word Australopithecus afarensis, Australopithecus africanus, so all these Australopithecus, Neanderthal, etc., etc. With the advancement of language came what's referred to as we said, a development in culture and a development in intellect. There's a lot that came with language. I want to say this, which is, when we say came at advanced development, you have two groups of people. You have what's referred to as anatomically modern humans, and you have behavioral modern humans. When we say anatomical modern humans, what we're saying is these are human beings that look like us, but they never act like us. The behavioral modern humans, meaning that they look like us and they acted like us. And that action how they acted like us came about with the intervention of language. And as we said before, with the language came advancement in tool utilization, basically culture. And culture is all-inclusive of everything. So we have what we refer to again as behavioral modern humans, and we have the anatomical modern humans. The anatomical modern humans are those that look like us, but they didn't behave like us. The behavioral modern humans, meaning that they looked like us 54,000 years ago, and they act like us 54,000 years ago, as how we are today. The two types, okay?
So, going to the verse 99. Now, when you look back at Genesis 2:2, you see the host Sabatu, Enneads, hosts of Patat-At, heavens, and Taha, earth. They who are Hebrews are said to speak Habaruyi, Hebrew, and those who are Arabs are said to speak Arabuyi, Arabic. So those who are of the Saba host must have spoken Sabbatic, only stands to reason. Even the Muslims say that their prophet Muhammad or Ahmad ibn Abdullah was taken up to heavens, Quran 17 verse 1. I'm just going to give you quotes and keep it short and not to elongate it. Verse 102. So he went up to the heavens, a place, and he spoke to their God, Allah, from behind a curtain. I just wanted to point out something actually when I wrote that, the word masbat. Okay, that word here, ma, means place. Okay, so that's denoting, anytime we see the word ma in front of our language, it denotes a place, okay, or dwelling. So this masbat, okay, talking about a place where of the stars, okay, and that's what it's representing. So, you know, our language literally is telling you in the meaning and the tones that we are of the stars, okay, that's where the language is coming from. So verse 104, right in their own Quran, it says where he is at and where he rules. So they talking about Allah is in a place where he rules, okay, and it's a one star system, Sabat, yeah, so the Sirius star system is where this particular being resides in. So they're just showing you that it's a place, it's a system of stars where many advanced beings originate from. And when you go and look into your writings of the Dogon and other places like in South America, you go to South Africa amongst the Zulus and people in Zimbabwe, all refer to the Sirius star systems, okay? Sabat Sirius in ancient Egypt, it was also called Sabat, Sothis, and Sopdet. So I just wrote that down for people to research it. So you can see the same name for the same Nathar, who my humble brother here brought down, whom they call gods or the heavenly host. And what did Yeshua or Jesus say in their New Testament, John 3:31 and John 8:23? Ye are from beneath and I am from above. The word used in that Greek Strong's number 507 is the word anu, okay? Or they'll have it in the Greek as ano. Okay, in the Greek. From with his father, who was where? Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. Our Father who art in, let's now replace these words because this is what the part of the whole thing about language is that the English language and other Roman and the Indo-European languages are part of the spell, okay? So when you look into the Greek here, you have ano, Greek, which means the heavens, all right? And you have also in the Greek, Oranos, which clearly you see as Orion. So yes, Jesus' father is in Sa'at, Orion star system, a 7 major stars called the 7 heavens above. This is where you get your 7 heavens in the Quran, you know what I mean, and Muhammad traveling through the 7 heavens, etc., and everything's all in sevens. They all make it so clear where their God, Teros, Allah, Rab, Lord, Yahweh, Elohim, and Alihat, and are in Sabat Sirius or Sa'at Orion, and with the host, or as one of the hosts. And remember, there was a good and bad heavenly host, Safaru, Seraphim, and Karabu, Cherubim, which goes into the Nunakials, okay, and there are many different names and titles.
Yeah, just quickly jump in there. And going back what Zamani said, it talks about the different languages, the Greek, the Roman, Indo-European languages. This then asks, the next question is language race specific? The answer is yes. Languages is race specific because the language deals with the tones, frequencies and vibrations on which a race or people vibrate on. Not all races vibrate on the same frequency. You could tell that by the music of the Europeans, the music of the Hindus, the music of the Orientals, the Chinese, the Koreans, and the music of Negroids, that's from Africa, or the reggae music. You know that language is, because music really basically goes back to tones, frequencies, and vibrations. So, is language race specific? The answer is yes. Language is race specific, and there are languages that can be constructive or destructive. We have languages that are conducive, unconducive, and you've got languages that are conductive and unconductive to a specific race.
True, very true. Yeah, like let's just give like an everyday observation. When you are going into a particular area, neighborhood, okay, you hear a particular language being spoken. They even have an area named after the Asians, for instance. You with me? You go to Chinatown, you know that when you go there, you're gonna hear the Chinese being spoken. So as the brother said, language is very specific to a particular race or people. And with that in itself is also to do with the genetics and their DNA and how it reconfigures them, and also how they view things. What you have to realize is language is also a way of how you're able to perceive your reality. And us speaking a language which is a dead language, okay, that has no relevance to us, as the brother said, is that it's either constructive or destructive. You with me? So it's actually not helping us, it's actually doing the counterproductive effect on us as a race of people. So we're not perceiving things through the eyes of our ancestors or through the eyes of what is real reality to us. Hence, there's so many different conflicts and misunderstanding between us because we're not conveying in our own language, which has a frequency, a tone, and a vibration, yeah? And that means that I won't be arguing with my sister or my brother because we have a particular resonance that we have between each other, okay? And that's the importance of the language, and that's why we're advocating and pushing and spreading Wu-Sabat and the language, etc., because it deals with tones, vibration, frequencies, and the reconfiguration of your DNA. Right, so we jump back into ProdPrada. Yeah, we're doing our best to get this information out there. So 114. So now we know where creation was first. Africa's Sudan, Ham, Ethiopia, Kush, and Arabia, Foot. We know who created the host, Saba, why it was called Saba, Sheba, and that the heavenly host spoke Sabbatic. Verse 116. These beings sent humans to warn others and tell them what is to come, were called Nabi in Hebrew and Nabi in Arabic, meaning prophet, and their good news spoken in a tone or tongue of the people for whom it was intended. Okay, so verse 116 is a very poignant point there. It's essentially saying to you that, as the Master has explained to us now, and the revelation is that we are the next prophets of the next 24,000 year cycle. So our job is to go and teach this information in the tones of our people, the true tones, so that they can waken up to that spell that they've been placed under. Okay, let me jump to verse 117. The first language spoken by mortals was Nubic from Sabbatic, and Genesis 11:1 says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, dialect. It was Nimrod, who had returned from his father Cush's land, where they still spoke Napatan, Nubic, Sabbatic, and brought this tone back with them, which was not spoken in Shinar or Sumer under the gods who ruled there. So that's showing you there's a distinction and differentiation between who ruled where and what language was spoken or what tones were spoken and how it affected the people. Verse 119. This different tongue or tone caused a problem because speaking a different tone not only changes your bodily vibration, yet also changes your physical appearance. Okay? So that is again another alluding to the fact that when we start to speak our language, if you look at a specific race like the Chinese, yeah, it's not because they're all just born and they all have the, epithantic fold and they have, high cheekbones, etc. It's because language literally does shape the facial features. That happens because you're using certain muscles and certain expressions on your face. And then that being happening is actually over the course of time actually going to alter and change your physiology, including your face, okay, and your facial features. So, verse 120, not only that, the language, it changed the channel or station the people were listening to. So the language is not just a frequency that just me and you can hear when we're conversating with each other. It's a language and frequency that permeates the actual environment. You with me? And it actually affects this station. This station is that there's radio waves that are constantly being emitted. Okay, and sound, as you know, sound travels, or if you go and research, let's say, about sound, not that you know, but if you research about sound, sound travels and doesn't really have an ending. It just travels and travels and travels. You with me? In different waveforms, and then it will embed itself somewhere else, but it continuously keeps traveling. So this station is being broadcasted by those beings who are known as Anakim, to control a particular people that was in that area of Sumer. And this is what the God of the Bible or the beings didn't want to happen when Nimrod went over there and started to change the tones. Once it changed the channel or station, the people were listening to, and thus they were no longer under the control of this God. Genesis chapter 11, verse 67. Again, do your research, read the verse, and you start to see. Verse 121. The Sabatu spoke Sabbatic or Thebian, and is the same script we use today as NoopooH. So, verse 122. At this point in time, outside of Africa, there was cause for change. Genesis chapter 11, verse 68. And this Yahweh and those with him, we know, were cherubim by Genesis 3:22 to 24. Okay, verse 123. That ties in very well, actually. The next part that we're going to mention, I guess we can cover when it talks about the script. Okay, so we delve into that. You see here, okay, if I bring it up close, right, that's our Harofat, and this is the script. Okay, so these are Sabaic letters with pictures. So we're just going to write some down so you get a feel of it.
I'd just like to say something here. Zamal was mentioned about the God of the Bible and Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11 is a very poignant chapter that pertains to language. Or the story of Genesis 11 is talking about the Tower of Babel and Nimrod and his people. And it says here, let's read it. Genesis chapter 11 verse 6 to 7 reads, and the Lord, Yahweh, said, behold, or look, the people is one, they're united, and they all have one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Everything that they imagined to do, they'll be able to do. So this was a concern to this Lord or this Yahweh. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So this is letting you know then that, as Zamal said earlier on, that their language is race specific. And these, or Nimrod's people, they spoke a language that cut off the broadcasting, the messages that was coming from this particular Lord or God. And this God saw that the people were now united. Yeah. So this is the same thing that's happening to us as Negroes in this day and time. When we say is language race specific, the answer is yes. And what's happened to us is that because we are not speaking our own language, we are what's referred to as a disenfranchised people. And the unification will come once we start speaking our own language. And once we start speaking our own language, everything will change. It'll be like what's referred to as a game changer. Now we can go into the language itself, and our language, Mispatir, is written from right to left, but it can also be written from left to right. Now this is, reading language, we say from right to left or left to right. This is a very important point. What it is that our brain has been so constructed to read and write from right to left, because in terms of reading and writing, it's from right to left. In terms of doing mathematical calculations, it should be from left to right. So when we at the English language, it is read from left to right, but that is contrary to how our brain has been so constructed. We should be reading from right to left. And we do mathematical equations. We are taught to first do the units first, then we do the tens, then we do the hundreds, and then we do the thousands from right to left. So it's a backward system. However, now we have the master teacher, Partner Babi Nanan, we have Wu-Sabat, the culture. We're now setting the record straight and correcting things. So now we can quickly go into the language and just show you how it's written. Okay, so we're looking at the script now, and when we say we write from right to left, this is how we do it. This is what we call the A. We don't say A because it's all about tone, fluidity, and French. We say A. Okay, in English they will say A. Then we have Ba. As you can see how I'm writing it from the right going in this direction. So we're writing from right to left in this direction. As we said earlier on, because that's how our brain processes language, from right to left, as opposed to English, we read from left to right, which is contrary to how our brain is meant to process the written word. Okay, so now each of these letters, as you say, has a specific tone, has a specific frequency, has a specific vibration. So we would say the A, the Ba, the Ka, the Cha, the. This is how we speak, how we pronounce the letters. However, correct pronunciation has got to do with what we call the vowels, and we are taught that there are 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, but in actuality there's only 3 vowels, which we say the A, the E, and the U. The A, E, U, and this is the foundation for most languages on the planet, the vowels A, E, O. There is a hidden meaning behind this term here, A, E, O, because we have what we call, since in Miss Batia, we ascribe and subscribe to the Egyptian mystery systems, and this IEO is what we refer to as the ancient Egyptian order. And this is letting you know the origin of language. These vowels, IEOs, letting you know the origin of language, which has come from the Egyptian mystery systems. Or we say, we have to take note and remember that Egypt is in Africa. We don't say Africa, we say Afaf, Re, Ka'a. They call it Africa, which is from the Arabic Ifriqiya, means divide and separate. But the master said, no, we call it Afaf, Re, Ka, those who are of the spirits of the sun, Re. And the origin, we say that the IEO, the three vowels, the AEO, the ancient Egyptian mysteries order. So going back to these vowels, the vowels are very important because it's the vowels that help shape the pronunciation of words. The A, E, U. Once you got the vowels on lock, these just three vowels, all other, the pronunciation will start to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as the Dal is explaining that the mystery system, because it's dealing with certain, these are formulas, okay, and those formulas tie into also the tones which we advocate in Wu-Sabat. We teach is that FAC are our natural tones. So the FAC, which is dealing with the universe, the planet or nature, and also the planet, the universe, and the human body. So you have these three particular tones that we are constructed of. Okay, so F is the planet or the nature's tone, and then you have C, which is the cosmos. Okay, dealing with the universe, and then you have A, which is the body tone. So we were constructed in a particular way by our ancestors genetically in order to resonate on those frequencies. And even if you go and study whale sounds, whales also utilized a lot of the F and a lot of the A in their communication. But you do your research, you find this out. Okay, so I'm just gonna read something again, because now that we're dealing with the science, there's a part from the prism, it's called the ProdPrada, the prism, and it says, the master teachers explained to us, learn to speak NoopooH Sabaik in your own tone and words. It's based on optical manifestation of sonic energy, okay, and blocks out all interferences of demonic tones. It's about vocalization and visualization, which equals manifestation. So again, the formulas of how we're calling on our ancestors in our chants that we do, these are actually we're vocalizing it, and the intention behind this, okay, is allowing certain things to manifest in this realm. As we speak the language, as we chant the language, as we think about the language, etc. All of these things are happening and is taking place and is protecting you from demonic forces, you know, because these demonic forces to us would be 6 ether, because 6 ether is adverse to 9 ether. We are 9 ether beings who are striving to become a perfect being, okay, in order to make the grade to be accepted by our ancestors who exist in higher realms. So it's all important for us to be vibrating and in resonance with these frequencies. Very, very important, the language to us. Because this actually links into the next one. So I'm going to talk about the cherub. This particular cherub, who is known in the book of Ezekiel. Book of Ezekiel talks about this particular cherub known as Lucifer. Okay, so we'll start from verse 1 to 2. So at this point in time, outside of Africa, there was cause for change. Genesis 11:6-7, which my brother read out. And this Yahweh and those with him we know were cherubim by Genesis 3:22-24, verse 1-3. We also know the anointed cherub was evil. Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 1-14. And on you see they are of Tyre or Tyre. That's Ka'anu, Canaanites. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21-23. So again, do your research on who lived in that area. You find out it's the Canaanites, and the Canaanites link into the cherubs, who are these incarnated beings. Verse 1-4. Canaan begot Sidon, Genesis 10:15, and from him came the women of Tyre and Sidon. The prince of Tyre, or the prince of cherubs, is with this Yahweh, who did not want Adam to learn or be their equal. Genesis 3:22-24. So in Genesis 11:5, he and the anointed cherubs, the cherubim, came down from heaven to cause confusion on Babel, as it states in verse 9, and is how you get your many dialects from that one first language spoken by the heavenly host to humans in Africa on the Nile River. Verse 1-8. In the garden in Foot or Arub, Arabia, and it's called NoopooH, Nuwapik, today, with same script. You can find this today, this day, some of the same words found in Hebrew, found in Igbo, in Nigeria, as well as in Arabic, in Hausa in Nigeria, which by the way means Negroid land. Verse 130. You find Hebrew and Arabic words in Akan of Ghana. I can testify to that because I'm from the Akan people in the Ghana region. So I know certain words in Miss Batia, you say, oh my goodness. And then you can kind of like relate and like, okay, this makes sense. So as well as in Bassa of Liberia to this very day, that did not come into Africa yet were already there. Verse 131. Not those mixed tongues such as Swahili, which is Bantu or Bentu, and Arabic originating from Arabia. In the north, each Muslim country got it from Indo-Arabs invading Africa with their Islamism religion for slaves, trade, gold, and spices. So you have Amharic, which is mixed with Latin and Greek, and then Coptic, Ge'ez, mixed with Greek and Latin. So, who are all speaking tongues or dialects or Sabaic or Sabbatic, which is now Nuwapic from Napata, Sudan, Meroe, Ethiopia. That is Hatat Ka'a Patah and Hatat Ba'a Patah, the north and south of ancient Egypt. Don't let them try and fool you. They all got their tongues from Nuwapic, Napata, along the Nile River. Don't believe me, check it out.
I know that we went into it a bit. However, we got to know the science behind the language or the science behind languages and the origin of languages. So now we can give you the art of the application of the language. Now, the first thing we say when we meet each other or we greet each other, we say
Rahubat, Zama.
Rahubat. Now, you say it means greetings. However, there is a deeper meaning behind this word here, the word Rahuba, the root letters, Rahuba. The word, see this word here, this word there, who. This pertains to hua and also pertains to hu-he. Now, I just want to write this symbol here, and this is how the master teacher wrote it, like this. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That symbol? So when we are saying Rahubat and it's Rahubat, this letter here, this ha, it's not ha, but it's ha. So we're saying Rahubat. And this hu, this symbol, as Zamal broke that, as written like that, pertains to
divine love.
What's another word for
Ashuk.
Write that down there, please, Zamal.
Ashuk.
Ashuk. Okay. This hu, hua, and hu-he. This hu is one of the many creative forces of will. The hu-he is the masculine and feminine principle behind the creative forces of will. The hua means he or it and. This symbol of hu is ashuk or divine love. So what we are actually saying in our greetings, when we say Rahubat, we are actually saying we greet you all with, by way of hu, hua, and hu-he, with divine love. These are the hidden messages behind our greetings.
May I just interject there?
Go ahead, sir.
So, as again going to do the science, this is causing a reverberation, a vibration in your being. You understand? So, the science and the formula of the language is that it's unlocking keys in your genetics. Yeah. When we go into genetics, you're dealing with not just the genes, but there's something that they've now opening into called epigenetics. Okay, epigenetics work by way of something called expression, and they sit on top of your genes. And what they do is that every time you're speaking the language that we're speaking, and the vibration and the formulas that's been utilized is actually expressing certain genes and is unlocking certain genes in your divine coding. But what the English does by way of its force is that it locks those genes. It actually closes and shuts it off. Okay, so that's why we're saying that the language is very, very important for us to study. It's not just me and you having a nice chat in the corner shop. You know what I mean?
In the cool of the day.
Exactly.
Check this out. See this word here, hu-he, is the masculine and feminine principles. Here it is now, family. Make sure that you all got
pay attention.
Pay attention, put your seatbelts on.
Students.
So you put your seatbelts on, you don't fall off the floor. There's more behind it. Right, this word hu-he, if you read it from right to left, you get I-U. This I has a Y sound. These are similar. The Y sound and the I sound are similar. This U would be your W, because a W really is just a W. And look what you get. And read it and write it from again from right to left. You get this. So you got Y H W H, which is
Yahweh.
and they translate this as Lord. So there alone you can see where this word Yahweh, YHWH, where it is coming from, going taking you back to the Egyptian mystery symbols again from this Etherians called Hu, He. This is the origin of their god, or where they grafted this word Yahweh from.
And just an update the master gave us. We must represent our culture to the fullest. We explain what culture is. Language determines a race's culture. Okay, with all that is going on today in this world, people whom do not have a culture will not survive. It's imperative we dress our cultural dress, speak our cultural tongue, NoopooH, Sabatia, eat our cultural foods, and dance our cultural dances. So that's just putting it out there for those who are serious about learning the language and embracing Wu-Sabat in their lives.
Well, the man is looking for that. I'd just like to add something here about the culture, because as you said earlier on, just can reiterate it once again. Our culture, Wu-Sabat, or we say back in the days it was Wu-Nawab, one and the same thing, Wu-Sabat. Your culture is all-inclusive. It's your means, our means of identification. Without a culture, that means you haven't got an identity. Exactly. And the question to ask now and then is, who are you? And the thing, what we tend to, if you haven't got a culture, what we would do is we would adopt a culture or a foreign culture, a culture that's not being constructed by one of us for all of us. So that's what happens. We start to speak a language that's not really constructed by us. We start to dress, eat food, live a way of life that's not for us. So Wu-Sabat has been so constructed, as we read earlier on, it's coming from way from the stars down here to the planet for us Negroids. So a culture that's constructed by the heavenly host for their children here on the planet Earth.
This is perfect. Guess what I just came across in our language? Our Karas Masas. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna do a little thing. Obviously, I'm gonna be honest, I don't speak it fluently, but we are making progress. All right, so this is a lesson from our platform, and it's basically to do with our Children's Day that's coming up. So I'm gonna start, and then you can continue from there. Rahubat Moisar, Panin Chabut, Nahun Shawil Natuk, Anen Pa Karas Masas.
Greetings, family. This month we will speak about the Christ child.
Number 2, Panin Atel Zamut, Kawun Maneh Pa Sapa, Anen Pa Ladud, Shalil Hara, Haroyu Anhu, Asar, Wu Ashashtat.
This holiday is from the story about the birth of Horus, his parents Osiris and Isis.
Wu Hayen Wakutum Shalil Kadim Mahmat, Asar Wu Ashashtat, Kawuna Radu Mahmat.
Once upon a time of ancient Egypt, Osiris and Isis were ruling Egypt.
Pa Natar Asar Lamuda Pa Muzwalu Shalil Pa Arase Laye Zarua Bora.
The overseer of Osiris taught the people of the land to grow food.
Anhu Lamuda Hum Lameh Laye Shayuk Pa Muzra'ah Ba'ed Pa Shamut Al Mabal Shalil Pa Nayal Nahar.
He taught them when to plant the seeds after the annual flooding of the Nile River.
Anthum Anuda Sa'um Ranuna Hara.
They had a son named Horus.
Lameh Pa Wakut Wasula Lake Ladut Hara Ashashtat U Shakaktat Nababtat Nasura Anha.
When the time arrived to birth Horus, Isis' sister Nephthys helped her.
Pa Masut Zadid Labdud Anhu Shalag Shakuta Lahe Pa Rahan Wakut Jawef Masbatia.
The evening before his birth, snow fell for the first time in Sabatia.
Nahun Haful Panin Atal Zamut Jawef Karun Shalil Mukhrat Hum.
We celebrate this holiday in honor of their child.
Tawakum.
Tawakum.
Tawakum Lahe, thank you for the and the questions. Tadrush, I think Tadrush Art is questions. Okay, and we'll close it off, and thank you for listening, and I hope this has been exciting and invigorating and thought-provoking teachings.
Or like edification.
Edifications, all of that, yeah? So we end by our greeting. I
just want to explain what we just did there. What we're doing is we hold up our hands, We are bringing the rays together. We are touching what we call the third eye. Beneath the nose, we call the mirror, the pyramid. And beneath the chin, we call the barotheric gland, the gland that gave us access, random access to the divine. We bow and we are saying, Port Kawan, all is.
Just to add to, I'm gonna tease him a bit. He's an elder. So with that, I bow lower to an elder. Okay, so that's part of our culture. Yeah, we bow lower. Yeah. All right.
And what we'll be doing here is a little small class, a racial class on our Lahag language, Mispatia Sabaik. Okay, we're focusing on the harufat, the letters, which they call in English the alphabet. Okay, so we start off. The first letter is this one here. As you notice that I'm writing from right to left, and this is what as the ah. This sound can be ah. It can have the sound of and it have the sound of ru. Ah, ru. In the Arabic, it'd be the equivalent to the ain. Okay, so it's ah. Could be could be ru. Okay, so that's the first letter there. Next one would be the a. That's the a. Then we have the ba, or the ba, or the be, the ka, or the ku. We then have the cha sound, the da. This is the the. We have this one here, which is the e. We have the fa, the ga, or the ga. Some of these sounds are not in the English. This will be the r sound, the h sound. It's like the ha. We have this is like we call another h we call the h sound. This is the ha. This is the e sound. In English they say the I, e. Just use it like this. This is the j sound coming down here. This is the k sound. And this is the kh sound. This particular sound is not in the English. I sound. I. In English they'll say L. This is the m sound. Wrap that out and make it nice and neat. This is the m sound. Me. This is the n. This is the p or pe. This is another pe sound. The difference between this and this is that this will be at the beginning and end of a word, and this p sound will be in the middle of a word when we are writing. Another pe sound, which is a pata, pata. This two words pata, as in the deity pata. This is a pata. This is a ph. This one here is the ka sound. Let's try and give it English. Ka sound like a Q. This is the ra sound or the re. This is a s sound. Se. This one is the sh sound. Sh. This one here is the so sound. So. As in sword. This one here is the t or te. As in T. This is another T sound, which is like a hard T. We say, I don't know how to write it in English, so I say ta. So we got this one here. This is the oo sound. Oo. Oo. This is the V sound. The vo. This one here is the wa. The wo. In English they say W. This is the X as in X-ray. Oh no, let's put X as in X-ray. This is the wa. The wa. Just wa. Or the ya. This is the Z sound. The Z. Well, that's our harufat. The word we call it, this equals the harufat. Our letters, ha, ru, or hara, fa. Harufat. There's a science behind these lines here, yet to be revealed to us. In English, the transliteration would be ha, raf. It's the transliteration, harafat, and in English we would say letters. But that's our, like, there's more to it than that. I have to get back to you on this one here. But this is basically our letters. The A, the B, the Ko, the Sha, the D, the Ro, the E, the Fa, the Ga, the R, the Ha, the Ha, the E, J, K, Kha, E, Le, Me, Ne, Pe, the P at the beginning, the Pe, the P in the middle of the word, be writing, the Pta. I need to go back to that one. We have the Ko, the Re, the Se, the Sha, the So, the Te, the Ta, another T, the U, the Vu, the Wu, the X, that's an X-ray, the Ya, and the Z. So this is our Mespatia Harufat Sabaic letters. In the English, they say the word alphabet. Okay, as we said, you can see it's written from right to left. However, we can also write from left to right as well. So if I had to write my name, I could write it that way, or I could write it from this way. Sorry, I made a mistake there. I could write it like this. What am I doing now? Yeah, that's right. Twee. I can't spell the whole name. Haptwy. That'd be Haptwy. So we can write it from left to right, or we can write it from right to left. So that's how. Or even we could also write mispatia, up down or down up. These are the vowels. They say A, E, O. When we say the A, E, O, the vowels A, E, O is where most letters, most languages, this is the origin of most languages, or the vowels of most languages, the A, E, O. Now, what makes this so significant, especially in mispatia, when we are chanting, whatever chant we have, to get the correct tones, the correct frequencies, and the correct vibrations, this is the foundation. Once we are able to chant this particular tone, because this is actually a chant as well, the A, E, O, or the A, E, O, all the other chants when we are chanting will fall into place. For example, a simple chant is what they call the Om chant, and it will be A, E, so it will be A, So if you had to chant this one here, it would be I, E, O. If you look at the facial expression, it would be I, E, O. And if you're doing the Om, it would be Aum. Aum. You can feel the resonance. It all stems from these vowel sounds, the A, E, O. Whatever chant we are doing, this is the foundation. And this A, E, O, I write like this way, the A pertains to the Nadaru, or people say the Tiru, the Nadaru. The E pertains to the feminines, and the U is the masculine. And when I use this particular chant, it's very significant, because the word Om, you hear this word Om, a lot of Buddhists and all chant this Om in their tongue according to the resonance of the body. You see this word Om, you see in the words like omnipresent. You hear the word Om as in omnipotent, omniscient, and this really is a feminine principle. So when they're all chanting. So yes, so when we talk about the I, E, O, this chant, we said earlier on, it takes you back to what we call the ancient Egyptian order, which is let you know the origin of languages. And this is a tone again. chant A-E-O, A-E-O. And if you use that same tone, you hear in the word Om, Aum. All stems from this here. This is the foundation for all our chants, and it's also a foundation in pronunciation of our Lahag language, Mispatia.
Dr. Malachi Z. York, born June 26, 1945, is more than a teacher. He is a divine guide, a spiritual revolutionary, and a bridge between Earth and the cosmos.
My question is about the pictures that I see around and the pictures I see in your books, all right? What is the significance of including the pictures with the word?
That's a very good question. The pictures you see on the wall is real important, because if we don't do this, he's going to write them off as white, the way he does all other black men histories. He distorts the pictures and gradually alters the way they look. Next thing you know, they're real. Everybody's real light-skinned, the same way they did the Cleopatra movie and the Moses movie. And people now think Charleston Heston is Moses, and they think that Elizabeth Taylor is really what Cleopatra looked like. And so what I did is, and you happen to be a child that was smart enough to pull the pictures out. 99% of them are so afraid to touch the Bible, even in that state, that they'd never do that. And they start looking at those pictures as they read the Bible and really think that Jesus lived in the village and had a beard and looked like a hippie. They start getting that white Anglo-Saxon hippie image in their mind of what God looks like. And being that telling them that Jesus is God, you know what that means? They think they are, when they look in the mirror and they see a black face, they think that they see themselves as the opposite of white. So they teach you that white is the opposite of black, then God is white, then what must blacks be? The devil. So what I've done is said, like me or not, I'm going to start putting images of black people in the books, regardless of what anybody says, so that the children that read it start to see Moses and Jesus and Abraham and Yusuf and all the people of the scriptures in their real shade and color. The men on the wall are put there so people can remember these great men of our history. Because the white man would love for us to just knock Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He'd like to lock them out of our history, but he makes sure me and you remember his history, because if you reach in your pocket and took out a dollar bill, you'd be looking at a part of his history. He made sure we had our face on George and Abraham and Jefferson all day. He makes sure of it. So I'm not going to be fool enough myself to say it's not important to me. I'm saying when I think a physical impression in the mind is important. What a person thinks things are oftentimes has a way of affecting the way they react to things. I mean, people see a white guy with a beard and they start, little black kids say, there goes Jesus, mommy, walking through the village. And the mother has to say, no, that's a hippie. And that shouldn't be like that.
His life is a testament to knowledge, mastery, and the sacred duty of awakening humanity. Born in Sudan, Dr. York's lineage is rooted in the sacred knowledge of Nubia and Kemet. Even as a child, he displayed remarkable intelligence. At age 10, he was abducted by Riskians, advanced extraterrestrial beings from the planet Rik. During this encounter, he was infused with cosmic truths about human origins, universal laws, and vibrational energy. As a young man, Dr. York studied across the globe the sacred sciences in Egypt, ancient scriptures in Ethiopia, Sufi teachings in Sudan, and ancestral systems in West Africa. He mastered multiple languages, unlocking hidden codes in religious texts.
I don't say we're not Moabites. We are some Moabites here. We are some Ammonites here. We are some Israelites here. We are some Ishmaelites here. And we are some Edomites here. And in order for you to be a Moabite, you got to be an Ishmaelite. Or if you don't believe me, open the Psalms to the 83rd chapter and the 5th verse.
Go ahead, Dad.
And read it. Anybody got a Psalms? And you read that the Hagarians, and Hagar was Egyptian, Abraham's Egyptian wife, who gave birth to Ishmael. The Hagarians, the Moabites, fell up under the Edomites. It tells you about it. Anybody got one? Nobody got a Psalms? Read it out for us. 83rd, 5.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmaelites of Moab and Hagarians.
It says the tabernacles of who?
The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmaelites.
The tabernacles of Edom. Now, what does Edom mean in the Bible? It means red. People can't say it. Washa. Washa. From where they get washata. From a French word, oh, she. From na, she, tush. U.S. side. Neshatush. A Native American tribe in Neshatu. From the ocean, we get washi ta. It means of the red soil. The same name as Edom. Same identification in Psalms. This is how our teachers must walk with us. They can't just walk with us with big words. They got to go to the blackboard and show it. They got to go to the scriptures and show you the place. They got to break down the words and take you by your hand and walk you step by step across that burning sand. And when you reach that great arch and you look up at that cornerstone and want to make that step from darkness into light, you know when you get on the other side, everything you see is about you.
Come on with it, huh?
Ain't no Freemason that walked that path that when he gets on top don't find us standing there. Don't tell me about no star and crescent. You've been fooled. China's don't call it a star and crescent. They call it the claw of the paw of the Bengal tiger out of India, where the Great Lodge is at, in Lahore, Pakistan, where all your Pakistani Qurans are coming from. And on the altar in Lahore, Pakistan, in that Great Lodge, there is a Quran. Because it begins with a B. And in London, where the Anglican church is, you got it? Where the Bible, holy as it may be called, sits on the altar. It sits there because it begins with a B.
Come on now.
And in Israel today, where they're meeting in the skull and bone room of privacy, the cloak and dagger room of privacy, where they fell back on the skull and froze and was ripped out from darkness back to life. The Tanakh, or the Torah, that sits on the altar in the lodge in Tel Aviv, begins with a B. The 13th stone, the cornerstone. Who was called the cornerstone?
Yeshua.
Jesus was called a cornerstone. The chief cornerstone is depicted in Rome as the arch, the 13th. But in our great seal, it's depicted as a pyramid with the cornerstone changed into the eye of all who knows of either Horus or Osiris, both being under the eye of Ra, who became the Amun of all your churches. Amen, Amen, Amen. You with me?
Come on with it.
A brother said to me that the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill was the great seal of the Moorish nation. I said, "Oh, sounds nice, same brother Hakeem. It sounds nice, however, why are we using an Egyptian pyramid if you're talking about people that was indigenous of America? Why didn't they put an American pyramid back there? There are pyramids here in America. We are the original mound builders. That's why I strategically brought you here to Eatington. Did you know that?
Come on with it, Dan.
Just last month's Geographic magazine, we repeated an article about the Eagle Rock Mound built by you. It's less than 15 minutes from here. Close as I could get without being in the park. And on the top of that mound, and out at the Washita, they have a picture of it in the magazine right inside. They show it to you. They say that's one of the greatest symbols, the eagle. What was that eagle? Huh? That's called what in Native American culture? The Great Spirit. It takes all your prayers and messages through the stars because it soars through heaven. Became adapted as an American symbol from the phoenix. And the phoenix comes from where they got the dove. You with me? And why they use the dove? Spirit. They use the dove because the dove, when you take it and put it inside your bosom, goes into a coma state. It goes to sleep. Did you know that? Oh, that's why magicians use a dove. Because they put a dove in their hat. Now go past a pet shop and ask and find out if I'm telling the truth. They put a dove out of the sun's light, it goes into a coma state and refuses to move. If you pull it out, it comes to life and flies. It's your resurrection story. And they chose a white dove in Christianity when doves come in all kind of colors and speckles, including dark brown, olive tone. And they chose a descending dove coming down to light upon Jesus to remain with him forever. Going nowhere. Going to sleep. All of these are the mysteries. That's why that eagle is there. That mound is a landing point when the crafts come. That doesn't mean go out there and start standing around there. Understand what I'm saying? That don't mean go out there and start standing around there over doing, because you might get zapped by the Anunnaki. Because they see your light, not your body. They see whether or not you are setting off a positive, pure green light, the essence of all life on this planet, or you setting out an amber light. So you better remember Independence Day, all them fools that got up on that roof who thought just because they put on extraterrestrial costumes and say welcome, they got zapped. Don't think you can't get zapped if you're out there doing all kind of devilishment and think they're going to take you with them home. Ain't nobody taking no drunken, stunking drunk nigga home with them. Why should they take you back to risk so you can mess their planet up and bring your music and your loudness and your boisterousness and your pork and your bad habits? Why should they? Muslims ain't going nowhere. People say, you always told us 144,000 are Muslims. Right, the Ansar Allah community, I said. Nobody else. Oh, Sunnis think I'm talking to them. Them people are messed up in their head. That's not Islam. That's spookism. That ain't reality. That ain't science. We're about science. Now you can say more is science, because yes, the Portuguese did call us in Portuguese morenos. Now, the word.
Come on with it.
Where is it at?
Come on with it.
Open the Bible to Acts, chapter 13, verse 1. And you'll find that they were calling the followers of Barnabas, Jesus' original disciples, they were calling them then. Right in your Bible.
Come on, man.
You got that Bible again? Acts 13:1. Come on, y'all, bring it out.
Good.
You got one? Acts 13:1. Let my brother read it.
Good
Yeah.
slinger, boy.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simon, that was called, and Lucius.
In your Bible. And the Greek word there is with threes. The Greeks called them. No, it didn't come from the Niger River. No, it didn't just come from Latino people saying negra. No, it's back in the Bible. They were calling Jesus the disciples. And know what it means? Right in the Bible, you look it up in Greek, you know what they have it under? Black. Another one of those terms they keep giving us when we are not black. When you look at Osiris and Ra in ancient Egypt, they're coming down green. Why are the deities green? Go back and look at the books. Look at Path in ancient Egypt on the wall. Look at Tar, that's his name, Tar, Path. Look at Osiris, and you'll see that they're green. They're not black. They're not brown. They're green. Before the poison, before the iron of this atmosphere through the air got into your body and oxidized and rust you into brown. You could screaming about being brown and all that kind of stuff. When you wasn't even brown. You think that's why a man makes so much fun of the green Martians are coming? Green Martians. That's right. Every time that man plays a trick like that, believe it, there's some truth in it. He's talking about you. Back to the other point, because I got so many, I got 76 trillion years of information. I'm only supposed to give y'all 25,000 years of it. I got to cram it all in 30 years. But back to the whole original point, this is a French name. The tribe was the Shoshone. The Shoshone Nubian tribe. Why? Because Ben York's name was not Ben York. That was a name given to him. Son of York. His father's name was Ali. I know. It's my grandpa. On my mother's side. They came here from Mali. You understand that? And was taken into slavery because he spoke all the dialects of the different tribes who came here. The Native American tribes that are here came because of a Chinaman named Ho Shen. When he got here, he met people that were already here. Woolly haired, dark-skinned people that they call the Kachina. They also call them the Hopi, from the Egyptian deity Hapi. And they married and lived with them in peace. And they produced what you see today as Orientals, with slant eyes and round faces and light skin and straight hair. The giveaway is understanding the science of hair, 9 the highest number. The zodiac does not have 12 signs. They didn't find the last 2 planets until after the 18th century. So they couldn't have had 12 signs of the zodiac back in the biblical time. They only had 6 months in the year. That's why they made a mistake and said Jesus was born in the year 1. Because he was born in the month of June. Nuula, they call it the Most High. You with me? So these people came over here, these Chinese, his name is Ho Shen, look it up. Sailed to California, mixed in with us, and produced the Native Americans. The dead giveaway is in the hair. Don't get mad, relax. I'm not going to do nothing but tell you the truth, and I want you to check it out or call me a fool. I don't want you to believe nothing I say. It ain't worth it. Only Chinese and Native Americans have hollow hair. Did you know that? Did you know that they have hollow hair? Do you know that that's why Chinese can't curl their hair? We have Orientals in the tab. That makes me get first-hand information. We have Native Americans in the tab. The head of the Shoshone, the high priestess of the Shoshone Nubian tribe is here. She lives on Kodesh with us. For all of those here who are part Native American. That's her job in the family. Only Native Americans and Chinese, and that's only some of the tribes of Native Americans, have hollow hair. Don't believe me. Be amazed. Check it out. Or better yet, come out the maze and find out. Proving that it was the Chinese, and they go back to the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty, the people had nappy hair. The later Mongolians got the straight hair. They mixed in with people here on this continent with woolly hair and produced Native Americans. And that's why some Native Americans look Chinese. Amorites from out in the western part of this country raped what they call squaw. And that's why a lot of Caucasian country boys also have Oriental eyes. I don't know if you noticed it. Their eyes look like they're Chinese, a lot of them country western singers. Because they're in their blood. And that's why in every cowboy picture they always have Chinamen in there. But they were marrying into them also. These are the real facts. There's a whole lot of facts out there, but there's some real facts too. Stuff people go check out. Not stuff that people say, I'm not sure. Don't tell me about stuff and I'm not saying, can you prove it to me? And you say, well, from what I heard a brother say, when the Declaration of Independence was being signed, some mysterious man walked in and told them, sign it. And all of them signed it. Who Who's the mysterious man? We don't know. Don't tell me about that kind of stuff. Right. Don't tell me about it unless you can prove it to me. Because I've been lied to so many times. I've been lied to in Islam. I've been lied to in Judaism. I've been lied to in Christianity. I've been lied to as a Rosicrucian, Seventh-day Adventist. I've been lied to by so many different people. If you can't bring me no facts, keep it, John. Just keep it. And if you're going to bring it, I'm going to ask. I'm trying to raise a group of people here that will ask questions. That's why we're the only ones we started. Now everybody's trying it. Come on in and sit down and ask questions. That's what we say. They don't care. They don't want it. They can't do it, my sister. They can't stand here and take it. They won't let me come up near their question and answers. No. You said bring Dr. Yorkie, Mom. He said that's demon, that's jinn. I'll be all kind of names. But all of a sudden, no. Because I say this is not a fez. This is a Kardo bush. Fez is a place in Morocco. Fez, here you go again. Fez is an Arabic word. They say this, Fez. There is no such Arabic word as Fez. It is a French word. The French Foreign Legion wore fezzes, which was a short cap similar to this with a brim and cloth. And when they inducted the Algerians into the army, because they couldn't pray with a brim on the front of it, they tore the brim off of it. You understand? And that's the short fez that you hear that the Masonics use. It has nothing to do with the royal Kardo bush. If you're going to sound right in front of the world, stand up and say, this is a Kardo bush. And this is not new in the Ansar Allah community. It's not new. I'll show you a picture of me wearing a Kardo bush in 1970. That's how we used to wear it. Long before we switched into Tagirs and Emmers, we were known for our fez, as they called it, and we kept saying, no, Kardo bush, fez, Kardo bush. Fez is a place where, you with me? Where, when the crusade was overpowered, the Muslims, they keep saying they won, they lied. The Knights of Templars overpowered them and cut off Mecca and cut off Jerusalem. They had to reroute the pilgrimage to Fez. And there the Freemasons picked up the headdress of the Frenchmen. The word, you want some more?
Yeah, come on with it.
This word here,
the whole truth.
Bay, it's not Arabic. It's Turkish. What are Turks? Germanic French people. The word comes from the Turkic word B-E-G, beg. And it means a ruler. But it's not one of our names. However, the name El, which is mispronounced as eel, like Farad was mispronounced, can be found as El and Al, and goes back to the name Ali, but there's no Bay, Day, El, Al, and Ali. El, Al, and Ali are all the same name, and it leads back to, you want some more? Yes. It leads back to Ali, the nephew of the Prophet Muhammad, born 570, 632, died 632, of Arabia, the so-called Arabian prophet. His daughter Fatima married Ali. And Ali, the way they spell it in the Shriners Temple, is A-L-E-E, look at the manual, is the one who initiated the Masonic Lodge or the Shriner Temple in this country in 1877, the year you say Farad was born. That's when they brought it here, when some noblemen, Caucasians, got initiated by the Saudi Arabian government to bring the information here. The Moroccan government did the same thing years before that to Americans. So you have a Moroccan lodge here, and they'll say Moors right on their fez. And you have the ancient Arabic order, then you have the ancient Egyptian Arabic order. One's taking it down to the daughters of Isis, one's taking it back to Saudi Arabia, to Mecca. They go to Mecca and they perform the ritual in Mecca at the Kaaba. They dismantle their camel there. You understand what I'm saying? All of this was brought to this country and taught to you as real Islam for you. And you say, well, the Amorites used to respect us. When they saw you in the fez, they wanted to know, do you know what you were wearing? But when you put up the 5-pointed star and crescent, they said they don't know what they're talking about. Ain't no sun can get in front of no moon. Ain't no 5-pointed star and crescent could be a real symbol, because a star is a sun. You can't get the sun in front of the moon under no circumstances.
Make it fun.
So it must be an illusion. It must be for confusion.
That's right.
You follow what I'm saying? What is the symbol? They think the shrine of symbol is a star and crescent with a sword on the top. That's not what it is. It's the claw of the world Bengal tiger. That's what you see. Ask anybody who walked through the lodge who want to tell you the secret. You don't know what you're talking about. The symbol you're riding on is on the Behemoth symbol. You know what the Behemoth is? The Mendez symbol. You know what the Mendez is? The inverted pentagram of the ram's head? The man who wrote the book, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus, from which the Moorish scientists get their Quran Circle 7. He's the one who drew that picture of that creature. Look on the bottom and you see his name in the outside on the bottom of it. He drew a creature with fingers like this, and with a 5-pointed star here, a half goat, and half woman, and half man, and with hands like this, and with a white crescent there, and a black crescent there, and a star in his head. Talking about white Islam and black Islam is all under the devil. When they took it out of his pristine purity, and then gave it back to you tampered with. Not the Moors. By the time they got into the picture, all they had was Shriner information. They don't know nothing about real Islam, the religion Millah Ibrahim al-Hanifan. They know nothing about it. That's why the Muslims keep saying, no, religion is deen. It's the deen of Islam. The deen of Islam said, no, it's Millah, Holy Quran. Chapter 2, verse 130 says Millah, the religion of Abraham. No, you know why? Because you say Abraham before Moses, they couldn't explain what his religion is. Because his religion would be Nuappo. And they can't explain that. They got to get after Moses to get to a religion. Because Moses, according to them, received the Torah. And the book of Leviticus gave them their first law. And then the New Testament came after that. So the Christians get their religion from the New Testament, the Jews get their religion from the Torah, and the Muslims get their religion from the Quran. It came after the Injil, as they call it, or the New Testament. So what was Abraham's religion? They don't know. And they can't know Abraham was a Muslim. Prove it. Show me in the Torah. Well, that's because he prostrated. Okay, sounds nice, doesn't it? But he prostrated before you became Muslim. So it's not that he is a Muslim because he prostrated. It's you Muslims stole his prostration. You got it backwards. What makes Abraham a Muslim? Circumcision? He had to be taught that, and that was a Babylonian custom. What makes Abraham a Muslim? They don't know. They can't prove it. The Holy Quran speaks of Abraham's books. We gave Abraham the book. Say, where's Abraham's book? They don't know. They don't have it. Yet you want me to follow you and say it's right and exact, and I should base my whole life on your translation of a Quran or your translation of a Torah, and you don't have no facts. I'm supposed to live until I die on these hopes. I need some facts for my soul's sake. And for the souls of my children and their children, I need some facts. I don't need no more myths. Make things clear to me. And I told y'all when I came on the scene, I came to step on lips. People are not going to like me. But I'm a made man. Made for you, not made for the Masonic Lodge. Made for you. I have been prepared to answer questions. That's why they raised me. I was born speaking 19 languages. I don't want to be this. I would have preferred being Dr. York a singer. And they told my doctor it was more fun than this.
Dr. York, and it's on me.
I'm gonna turn and walk away because I don't want you to see me cry. A man isn't supposed to cry. So, goodbye.
Please, York, don't go.
No, not again. I think I'll just remain your friend. 'Cause I can't take the pain. I know you're not to blame. It's on me. You see, it's on me. It's on me. It's on me. Yeah, it's on me. Don't you see? Don't you see? It's on me. On me. It's on me. On me. I can't take the blame. Oh no. Oh no. Now you see that I won't let this happen to me. No, no, not again. I think I've let it pass. No, it won't last, no. Because I can't take it. I don't think I can make it. You're not to blame. You're not to blame. You're not to blame. It's all my blame. It's on me. It's on me. On me. I can't take the blame. To blame. Oh no. Oh no. But now you see that I won't let this happen to me because I can't take it. I don't think I make it. I can't blame it on you, not on you. I don't know what I'm gonna do without you. My life, it's so empty. It's on me. It's on me. You're not to blame. Oh no. Don't you see? You're not to blame. I accept the fact that it's on me. It's on me. It's on me. It's all my fault.
You're not to blame. Oh no.
It's not the same. It's on me. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, 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 no.
But I came programmed with information to inflame you, to get your palate lit up again.
You got that right.
Facts. Get you jumping again, get you moving again, get you alive, Lazarus. Now when you go out there and you say, no, 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 that ain't no fez, brother, that is a... And then we can go to the dictionary and look that up. Say, no, that thing fez. They said, we ain't no Bay. Bay is Turkish. We ain't no Turks. Turks are Europeans. We are eels or elf, and that eel or elf was waiting for Geb. Remember Geb? To come from Shu. When Shu, the god up here, comes down to Geb, and you put the L, Gabriel, Nusku, waiting for the incarnation of an angel in flesh. Again, do angels come in flesh? According to your Bible, it says, right in the 11th chapter, that the gods in heaven looked down and saw the mischief. So one of them came down to earth and then came back and told the Heavenly Father, man is mischief making. And they said, let's go down there and see what he's doing in your Bible. So some beings from up there came down here, and when they got here, what did they see? And what did they do? They diversified the tongue. How hard is it to diversify the tongues? Is it difficult? Don't answer. No, it's extremely simple. It's called mass hypnosis. You can go to Las Vegas and sit in the audience of a magician who calls himself Fraud, and he hypnotizes the whole audience and has people acting like dogs and clowns and all kind of weird things without them even knowing it. That's right. Ask me why I went to Las Vegas. Because I wanted to see Luxor. I wanted to see this thing they built called a pyramid and the Sphinx. I want to see what they're doing with our way of life. Because if you don't use it, they will. They don't want you to go nowhere near Egypt. You know why? Because you can see yourself on the wall in Egypt. So they can't lie to you. They want you to call yourselves Muslims because Muslims don't have no images. You see that game? So we call ourselves black Muslims, this kind of Muslims, Muslims, all kind of stuff, but we can't show no pictures of ourselves to verify it. So people say, man, Muslims are Arabs. And Arabs don't have woolly hair, they have straight hair. They belong to the straight hair family. They're not one of y'all. You understand that?
By 19, he began writing. Over 1,000 books would follow on history, science, extraterrestrials, and sacred truths. His magnum opus, the Holy Tablets, written in English and Sabaean, reveals the origins of mankind and the path back to divine vibration. The Riskians remained in contact, revealing truths about Earth's history and cosmic intervention. Dr. York documented their crafts, offering evidence of their role in guiding humanity. He taught that beings like the Anunnaki and Pleiadians shaped human evolution. Dr. York taught that all existence is vibration. Through chance, meditation, and discipline, one can align with the cosmos. His goal: prepare humanity for a coming shift, a collective ascension into higher dimensions. In his 20s, Dr. York founded the Asaru Allah community in Brooklyn. He introduced the Sabaean language and revealed the African origins of religion. His writings dissected ancient texts and redefined spiritual narratives. In his 30s, Dr. York transitioned toward NoopooH, a doctrine combining Kemetic wisdom and cosmic science. He published extensively, sharing details of extraterrestrial intervention, and began laying the foundation for his greatest creation. In his 40s, Dr. York founded Tama're, Egypt of the West in Georgia.
May you ever take consideration for the pain you caused to this day. A whole generation destroyed Dion, you weren't the only one. Yeah, all you know is red run, red art, blood money. Red devil, dead level, they ain't got nothing for me. You came from the same place I came from, not Atlanta. Tama're, talking about back when we were young. You don't remember them days screaming freed out to York? What you talking about? You ain't had to leap out the port from the UK to Georgia. You stood on that land. We played on the beach, you remember the sand. The government took it when they came for pause. He told us they would come one day, but don't stop. So how you end up on the side of the odds? The killing and drilling is not what we taught. Your mama was right there with Asaru Law. Oh Lord, they used to stand on the block, but they ain't just stand, they would walk with them scrolls and them pamphlets, handing them out. You the prime example of what happened when they took the master and scattered us. Folks talking about we was abused without asking us. Yes, they don't care how that scrutiny battered us. Folks talking about we was abused without asking us. Folks talking about we was abused without asking us.
By his 50s, Tama're flourished. But this growth brought opposition. Dr. York was arrested and later sentenced. An act his followers claim was orchestrated to silence him.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, what was he incarcerated for?
He's been incarcerated really for putting out this information. Anybody that has ever come to this planet and put information out, not just even every other leader, even if you look at like even Jesus or Muhammad, all of them got killed. Like Muhammad got poisoned. Jesus, as you know, of course, got nailed on the cross. They made up allegations, made up lies, and put him in jail for RICO.
You say you was like that with Malachi York as well?
Yeah, when I first came out, it was like in 2001.
So what happens? So ADS, they won't allow you to mingle with them?
You get your mail on the screen and all that. The shower come to your cell. You got TV in your cell. There's no reason to be in your cell.
Malachi York, a person like him, he couldn't hit the yard.
No, he can't. They ain't gonna let him come out. He had ADS with Larry Hoovers, the Jeff Fords. They don't let these type of people in the population run about like inmates because they got too much influence.
The thing about the case is many people don't or haven't taken the time to study the case. Most people know about it through hearsay, you know what I mean? And if you want to learn about the case as much as possible, you can go on freedryork.com. We have a legal team and we have people that have been working on the case for over 20 years and they know the case very well. They've got something called COINTELPRO, which their whole thing was fear of the Messiah, because they knew and they know that this time was going to come.
You understand you're charged with 40 counts of aggravated child molestation, that you could receive a maximum sentence of 30 years in confinement for each count, that you're charged with 34 counts of child molestation, that you could receive a maximum sentence of 20 years in confinement for each count, that you're charged with 1 count of sexual exploitation of children and you could receive a maximum sentence of 20 years in confinement, and you're charged with 2 counts of influencing witnesses and you could receive a maximum sentence of 10 years in confinement for each count, and that you could receive a minimum sentence overall of 10 years on probation. I'm telling you the most, at least. You understand that? How do you plead, guilty or not guilty, as to all the indictments cited by the district attorney? Did anybody force you or threaten you in any way to cause you to enter this guilty plea? Did anyone promise you anything to cause you to enter this guilty plea? Are you satisfied with the services of your attorneys, not only Mr. Aurora, but your other attorney? Were you able to hear and understand my statements and questions too? He's under oath, let him enter his plea. Malachi Z. York, I find you plead guilty with freely, voluntarily, and knowingly entered. There was a factual basis for your plea. I accept your plea.
Rahubat Yasar, May 8th, 2002. It's the saddest day in our tribe's history. The day our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, also known as Baba Yananan, was kidnapped based on false allegations. Since this day, our tribe has suffered the seizure of our tribal land and scattered throughout the world in an apparent attempt to annihilate our existence. Many tribal members and their children are still plagued by these events. The safety and comfort of living and practicing our culture within the confines of our land has been stripped from us. For 18 years to this date, Dr. York has suffered the most inhumane treatment, torture, and inadequate medical care for his chronic medical conditions. His kidnapping and severe mistreatment has affected many members of the tribe in a negative way. Here are the testimonies of the post-traumatic stress suffered by members of the tribe since May 8, 2002.
That was 2002. I should have been 21. 31.
I was born in about 2001, so I was probably only a couple of months old.
I was about 31.
I was 9.
I was 7, about to turn 8. I was 4.
I was 2 going on 3.
And I was going on 15. I was in Atlanta, Georgia.
When the raid took place, I was actually working at the Georgia War Veterans Home in Millersville.
On Tama're, you had different houses. I was in the first house, which was Boy's house.
I was in the playground.
I was in house 100 at the bottom of the hill.
On Tama're, there was a building named House 2. I was in that particular location when it actually started.
And discrimination leveled at them by the Planning and Zoning Board, the Board of Commissioners, County Attorney Dorothy Adams and husband Frank Ford, the Eatonton Police Department and other officials. The Nubians have risen to the challenge and are beating the racists at their own game by taking the battle from the good old boy kangaroo-style court of the Okumulji Judicial Circuit, where grandma is the judge, father is the attorney, the uncle is the sheriff, his son is the police chief, and cousin Bob is head of planning and zoning, to the higher court system with hopes of getting some justice.
agents involved in this operation out here?
There were certainly all of my personnel. That would entail maybe almost 30. Close to 20 from the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. Close to, go ahead. I'll go back and start again. Virtually all of my personnel, well, don't get me wrong, there's still deputies on patrol. Other than those on patrol are here, along with approximately 20 from the Columbia County Sheriff's Office over in Athens, Georgia. Maybe 15 to 20 from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office in Milledgeville, another 15 to 20 from the Jones County Sheriff's Office in Gray, Georgia. There are 2 DNR personnel here and 2 federal United States Forest Service personnel. And there were probably, at some juncture in time, close to 200 FBI.
Why do you need so many, and how come they got machine guns and cannons and helicopters and bombs?
Well, I would suggest that you ask the FBI why they have their equipment.
I thought you were heading this investigation, Sheriff Seals.
Did you not understand my response? I would suggest you ask the FBI why they had helicopters and things, as to why my officers have weapons that they have.
Were they threatened?
I ordered them to possess the
Are they threatened by the people on this land? Excuse me. Who actually made the arrest? Excuse me. Of Mr. York.
Everybody was just so shocked, like, you know, child molestation, what?
Who gon' right the wrong? Reppin' York will be free. Who gon' right the wrong? What you did was in your nature. Who gon' right the wrong? Harassment can't hate you. Who gon' right the wrong? Very soon you'll see. Who gon' right the wrong? Reppin' York will be free. Who gon' right the wrong? What you did was in your nature. Who gon' right the wrong? Harassment can't hate you. Got a message from my brother on the two-way the other day. I read it and it said they bust wide open on Tama're. Jump out boys and see I paper up the scene while ghetto birds hover over with innocence.
I hope y'all got that you take the cushion, right? Y'all saw that? Y'all saw when he cushion, right?
I mean, definitely, it was definitely a effect that took place when the raid, when everything happened. It's just over time. Firstly, the first thing that I noticed was that, now looking back on it again, is that it put me in a state of paranoia. Like, I remember being a kid and I was afraid of cops. Like, as a child, I remember being afraid of cops. In my mind, police were like bad people, evil people, stuff like that. And not because of anything that I was taught, but because of what I saw. It put me in a state of like, the police are evil.
When Dr. York got taken and they came with all these fabrications and all these lies, it wasn't just about his him, it was about his doctrine that he was teaching. Because his doctrine was changing the world. It was changing the entertainment world. It was changing the music world. It was changing everything. A lot of the people that's in that world was being influenced and being, taught by Dr. York. So they was like, we got to shut him down. And this is why, I look at it as how they came at him because of what he was teaching. Had he not been teaching none of this stuff, they wouldn't be coming at him. But at the time the master teacher was being persecuted and locked up for it, he said, look, y'all next. He made the statement he was talking about all the leaders and all the entertainers and the musicians and all the, actresses and rappers and all them. He said, y'all going to be next. He said, they take me down. They're going to come for y'all next. And now look at what's going on with Bill Cosby or R. Kelly and all these different people. They try to get Jamie Foxx. They try to go at Morgan Freeman, and they come in with the same allegations. They even came at Russell Simmons. They coming at everybody. You know what I'm saying? And then people say, well, if 100 people said they did it, he did it. But then when people come back and say, well, it didn't happen, nobody's really going back and saying, oh, we apologize. The media or fake news is attacking our leaders. And the same thing happened to our master teacher. So you can imagine if social media had been created back then, well, really, that would have been even worse. If social media was at the time going on back then.
Every encounter that I ever had with Dr. York was always a situation where he taught me something. I got the opportunity to talk to him, you know, not on a regular like some folks, you know, just whenever I went up to go visit and have a conversation with him. And people give off a certain vibe or a certain energy. And Dr. York never, ever, ever, ever gave me even the slightest impression that he would be guilty of something like that. Ever. He's just not that type of person. That's not the energy that I got from him. He always taught me something every time I came in contact with him. And I've seen his interaction with children. I'm not saying I'm, you know, expert at reading people all the time, but certain folks give off a certain vibe. Like I'll give you an example. When you look at videos that you see of Joe Biden, how he interacts with children, and you see he's a pervert. You see him rubbing and touching children like that. That I never saw that with Dr. York, ever. It was always all love with him. And from what I remember, he always made it a point to always, and I remember he even said this, he always made it a point to always have people around him so that somebody could always account for where you were and what you were doing. Somebody could always prove it. So to me, no, I never got that vibe off about Dr. York, ever.
One of the points I want to stress to the onlookers is when it comes to a case like this, one of the things we have to acknowledge is that Dr. Malachi York's case was one of the biggest cases to ever take place in Edenton, Georgia. So it was a very mainstream case that a lot of the government were invested in to actually try to make sure that they convicted him for that purpose, to make a name for themselves, for lack of a better word. But one of the things I want to stress to the community is that because child molestation is a big thing within our community, it's one of the tactics that they use to bring down our Black leaders. And they make sure it's an emotional accusation, so that way the onlookers rely strictly off of emotion and not facts, and believe what they're saying without doing the due diligent research to find out the truth. One of the keys that they use is, because they know it's predominantly a large counts of child molestation within the Black community, they use that. And the tactic that they do is that they make me and you or us look like the bad guys that's to step forth and question the accusations. And because of the nature of the accusations and the people who have gone through that throughout their life, they look at you as the cosign to those accusations, when in actuality they're not true. But because it's predominantly a large case of child molestation within the Black community, they know that this is something that a lot of people won't ask the truth about. A lot of people, they won't question it. They're just, it's an emotional accusation. And once you subside that and you acknowledge, okay, the tactic that they use, because they can't do it without using us to do it. It's a common tactic that they come in, they disrupt the peace, and they cause chaos, and they use the members that are disgruntled towards the actual leader, and then cause them to do these things or say, okay, this happened to me, or this happened to him, or this took place or that took place, when in actuality it's all a lie. So, it's just, I encourage the onlookers to do their due diligent research and not surface Wikipedia research. Actually get in depth if you want to find out the truth. If you want to find the facts of the case, it's there as long as you are ignorant to it. So I just want to stress that point and make sure that, we all collectively do our parts in bringing an innocent elder home, back to his family, back to his loved ones, and mend the broken hearts that's been torn since this whole thing took place.
They always attack our leaders, right? It has in America, society has a known thing for attacking leaders on the basis of the same crimes that Dr. York was charged for, like child molestation and stuff like that, even though he wasn't charged with that crime. Not everybody knows that, but the media pushes as if that was the crime he was charged with, when it really wasn't that. If you look up and you do your research, it shows that he wasn't charged with that. And then also is a lot of the case in the court, a lot of the things when they were asked by judges if they had any evidence, the answer was no. a lot of the witnesses recanted their statements. Their key witness recanted their statements. Like it's if you were to read the transcript yourself, you would be able to see that the case, the whole completely entire case, was bogus from the start to the end.
To be honest, there's a number of things. Like you can point out so many things in the case, but I will start up with a personal experience, right? I'll say it was I forgot how old we were, but me and one of my brothers was in our father's house. I'm not sure if we was watching something with Cookie Monster or something like that, but I just know him and Cookie, he always liked Cookie Monster. His mom was asleep in, I think, one of the rooms, and Baba was in the house. We wasn't molested. Nobody next door to Baba, none of my siblings were molested. It was in house 100. His house is connected right to that house. It's easy access to molest any child. None of my siblings came out saying they were molested by our father. Number two, if you look at the sex counts that they try to give Dr. York, doesn't make sense. In all honesty, when I was younger, you do have your doubts by listening to other people who are disgruntled, who don't really know. Until I got older, I had to literally look into it. And I'm going to just say the first outrageous claim was the counts or how much times these people said they were molested. It goes up to about 11,500 and something for the amount of times that they said he was molesting them, which doesn't make sense. This is outside of him having sex with his wives. This is just a ridiculous number. Number two is that it showed clear biasness, of course, when you had a judge who already had a prior case against Dr. York and still reside over his case, which was a conflict of interest. That should never happen.
Okay, so in answer to your question, why do I think the court was closed? It's because they had to hide the case. First, they wanted the public to know about the case. They put all this information in the public, all in newspapers, all these hundreds of witnesses, all these people that come and they say come as false. And when it came right down to it, they didn't have nothing but a small pool of people that we had proven has set a plot up in South Beach, Florida, bounced up into Atlanta, into a house in that, hanging out, and they plotted, they suddenly had it, and knew they couldn't sustain the case. And what they didn't do, by the way, also the prosecution, as they call themselves, which is National Words than Don Daskins, right? What they did is they called witnesses, but they called them 4 witnesses, right? We called the West of their so-called witnesses in the indictment. We put them on the stand. The so-called victims in the indictment, the prosecution never called them. We had to call the so-called victims and put them on the stand, and they had to say, the front court, he never did that to me, I was never molested, and they still want to use those victim stains in the PFI and put that upon a guilty charge, but they got right up on the stand in front of everybody, and that's why the judge closed it down. Anytime we put a witness on the stand that had something to say that was valid, the judge would say, hold it, put the chip dictatorial out to run, let me hear them privately.
And they put Jake's sister up on the stand, and Jake's sister said, I was there, I went to his house, I saw Barbara and all them scheming and plotting this thing together, and I told him I don't want to be no part of it. Jake told me the government's got me on payroll, and if I would work with them, I guess I told them I'm not doing that to my father, so and so they cursed me out and told me to get out. Right? They knew that every time I stepped in court, I pointed out my jurisdiction rights and how they had no rights over me. My inalienable rights were being blocked. I don't live by their laws or by their government. They knew that was coming. And so what they did is whatever lawyer they threw at me, and they were giving me lawyers that I didn't hire on, like the Garland firm, right, who's there, placed there sole purposely to draw rich black money so that they can give them pleas and mess their careers up. Right? I didn't hire those people. I didn't sign any contracts with those people. I didn't make any verbal agreements with those people. My lawyer was Leroy Johnson, first black senator in Georgia. They pushed him out the way and they jumped on it so they can sabotage this case. The purpose of this case is to establish certain precedents in the state of Georgia. One is this is the first time the feds ever got involved in what they call a sex case. You follow? Yeah, second, this is the first time Middle District Georgia got involved with a RICO case. So they were trying to set a precedence with this organization, as they call us the Milwaukeeans, and avoid now the Yamasee Native American tribal name, so that they can keep it as a religious organization. And this is why the case was all in court based around religious and religious belief and who I say I am and who they believe I to be, so that they can eventually, after this case, set a precedence to go after all of the black ministers in Georgia, like Creflo and all the other prominent black ministers, so they can come after them. Somebody can come out the framework 10 years, 15 years, and say he did something to them, he felt them, or he did this thing, get 3 or 4 people to collaborate. That was on salary by the government, by the way, because we found out the witnesses were on salary, receiving favorable concessions, which came out in the court. Right? I know I didn't answer your question yet, but I want to get this on point. Okay? Receiving favorable concessions, like Jake York was paid by them. We know that to be a fact. And he was sent out to scare other people, tell other people, we got information on you. If you don't say this, we're going to take your kids away, we're going to lock you up, etc., etc., etc. Question. Now that that's on point, right? Why did they close the court? The judge had to close the court because they knew they didn't have the witnesses. They had boasted from day one that they had all these children that had been molested. And they said they're going to put them up there and they can't wait. Because I remember when I was in Atlanta, when Mr. Bright came on with his new indictment, the first thing he said in the newspaper, in Atlanta Constitution Journal, and Jim News Today, he said, I want to put every child up there because I want every part of this case heard. That was his whole new thing when he came up with all this new indictment. As time went on, they realized that as they called people and interviewed people, that most of the people that they had as victims were saying nothing never happened.
Right.
And they had to isolate it down to a handful of people who had corrupt records for instance money, and put it in this kind of money orders and break it down like this, and everything will go away. We got a bunch of letters from her son admitting to me that he's very sorry, that his mother and them put him up to do this for a lot, for money, and told him how now that they're out of the community they can't survive and they don't know how to do anything and they need to go and the community should be paying them, and so they just get money out of the community. So then it was easy for Jake to solicit them and get them in. Then the same thing with the sister was having mental problems all the time, so he tied her in it. So now they got a package of people that he then convinced that this is how we're going to work this. They all lived in the house together. They rehearsed their stories and they started soliciting other people who was what they call dissidents or disgruntled members who were put out for various reasons. Before this, they planned on having an open court, make a big scene out of it. The judge was smart, so what he said was, I'm going to move this down to a town called Brunswick. It so happened that Brunswick is the same town that the Yamasee Native American Moors had their conflict with the Confederates, and he happens to be, Judge Ashley Royal happens to be a descendant directly of those Confederates. This is no coincidence, right? And he took it down to Brunswick where he practiced law and lived for 20 years. This is no coincidence. He chose the jury himself. I sat there. Every time we would say somebody, he would say no and then pick somebody else. He had already had these people picked. The people outside in the courtroom, because when you have a jury pick, you're sitting in a separate room. Outside in the courtroom, the people were gathered, over 200 people, waiting to be selected. As they were coming in, he would ask them, this Ashley Royal, right? And we have the minutes of this here. Did you hear about the case? They would say yes. The whole purpose of pulling the jury is because they're not supposed to hear about the case, so they're not biased or prejudiced. They would say yes. Where did you hear about the case? I heard about the case from the Savannah newspaper. I heard about the case from the Brunswick newspaper. I heard about the case on the radio this morning. And did you hear about a guilty plea? Yes, I heard that the man pleaded guilty, so he must be guilty. He still put those people on the jury panel. After they came in and said they were discussing it inside the court before they came in. And out of the 40 or 50 people that he did bring in, everyone said not one person said they never heard nothing about the case, or never heard nothing about the Duwaanis, or never heard nothing about Malachi, or what they called every single one of them admitted to having heard something about this case. He still put them on the jury panel, and then he shuffled the jury panel in a way where it looked like there were some blacks up there, which would make it somewhere near a jury of my peers, but by the time it came down, those were what they call the sit-ins, and they were pulled off. And the one black woman who was left up there is the one woman who said this case is a farce, and I know it's going to get overturned, and I don't want to be a part of it. So she resulted in a hung jury, but what he did is he made all the juries anonymous so nobody could find them. So he could pick them and get rid of them so nobody can trace this out. So he set it up like that. So they moved it down there, but he moved his excuse that he'd been monitoring the Nubians for years as a judge in the Middle District, right? And he said they've been getting unfavorable press. We have this in his own motion. Unfavorable press for years. So now, if we've been getting unfavorable press in the Middle District for years, how did Sheriff Howard Sales or Frederick Bright pull a grand jury out of what they would call a tinted environment? He said the only place I could find in the state, or outside the state, would be down in southern Brunswick. Well, southern Brunswick invited our lawyers to come down into a parade, unbeknown to them, so he turned around and said that we passed out flyers. But not one of the people that was called into the judge's chambers, not one of them said that they saw it or read about it in a flyer. The judge himself introduced two people. He said one is a furniture man, one's a friend of his. He never had those people show up in court. That was further hearsay. Point being, they closed the case down once they read our net, and they saw that we had over 3,500,000 people who were reading the case. And we was putting the details of the case up there about the people, the letters they exchanged, their confessions, their recantments, their diseases that they have, so they can see it. Everybody where their family comes to, who their fathers were, and about Jake and his history. And meanwhile, the judge admits on the court, I was on the net and I read their stuff on the net. He admitted that while in the court. So he saw the facts. He saw that they had a disease, they had venereal diseases, chlamydia, and herpes, and I didn't have it. Right? He saw that there was no DNA on anything that they claimed. He heard one of the so-called witnesses say there was 2 pillars and one was thrown away. Yet there are 2 pillars in court. So they actually created another pillar to put it in because some of the other witnesses kept saying 2 pillars, but the person who took over the house in Putnam County removed the clock. Right? That person there changed the house, painted the house up, fixed the house up, and I guess created another pillar to match. So he saw all of that, and he said, we got to close this case down so the world don't see it, so we can dictate on our televisions what we want the public to think. So we can make, we got witnesses on the stand, and we can make like what they're saying is true. And that's a tactic they use to close this case and put it down there in that small town, and then put a military, flamethrowers. They had all kind of weapons so nobody could get near the court. They had me locked down in what they call a holding cell. A holding cell is supposed to be a temporary spot you sit while you wait to go to trial. You shouldn't be there more than a couple of hours. I had to live there on the floor for 3 straight weeks. My medicine was messed up. My facility for cleaning, I wasn't getting proper cleaning. I was only allowed to walk from one room, which is about 20 feet, into the court and back. And bad food, and then arrogant marshals with attitudes. And I had to stay there for the whole 3 weeks through that trial with no mail, no contact with family, no telephone, no business, and only one lawyer who they wouldn't even give a continuance so he'd have time to fight the case. Because they knew once I finally got the right to fire the Garland firm publicly, because they said I hired him when I didn't, that I needed an attorney. And the judge wouldn't. The judge would not. And I said, my constitutional rights are being violated. I need a continuance so we can go on and fight this case. I want to work with this man here. And they said, no. All that's a part of the motion. I'm going to call you back so we can continue this. Okay.
So you can, through researching, I feel that I came to the conclusion that if he was never convicted, properly convicted, and the FBI agent she said that she had no evidence to say that he molested anybody. And that should have been the end of the case.
If you look at most of the media, and you look at most of the people that debate against his innocence, most of the things that they say are mainly hearsay. So what they'll do is they'll bring up a document here and there in debates and say, well, if you look at this document or if you look at that document, and most of the things that they bring up, they usually don't really have anything concrete and solid to say that this is what he's done. But for the people, for the Sabians or the Nuwaapians who've actually been to the court cases, who actually stood outside of these different trials, who've actually got the petitions up and saying for the many different things that we worked on, for all the different aspects of the different case of the case that we worked on, you can never tell any Sabian that has been every step of the way that he's guilty, because we've been right there for every point where it's shown and proven that he's innocent. Even from when it first happened, like when we were on the land, when it was first told to us, they told us that don't believe anything that he's taught. And they said that on the court too. Why would that have to be said to people of a community that people follow a man? Why would they have to do that? Why would they have to say that? They have to say that for a reason, because it's a bigger plot or it's a bigger situation going on, rather than saying, oh, this man, committed child molestation. Yet if in the court cases it's shown that, then why is it that in the media they still push that?
The YouTube video of him allegedly confessing, that was all under duress. You couldn't even hear my man speak, Malachi speak. So all that, and like the video camera, that's one of their guys, mate. Like that wasn't it was all, and then you could see the editing, man. Like in the Matrix where the black cat moves, you see that in the back. You see some security guard move some. People need to watch that properly, man.
Would you say that the thing's edited?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I watched that this morning. When I said that to you, I watched it again. And you can just see it blatant. Even when you can hear the man speak, it's like, when you listen to it, you hear it.
Could receive a maximum sentence.
Blatant.
Let me tell you something. Not only will they persecute you, they'll lie on you. They'll fabricate lies. They'll imprison you and create cases around you. The same way they tried to defame Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then they tried to defame Malcolm X, and then they even tried to defame Dr. Martin Luther King by some secretary. That's what they'll do. They'll imprison you, and then they'll create lies to turn your own people against you.
Whenever you are arrested by people who don't have the right to arrest you, whenever you're charged by people who don't have the right to charge you, because they basically, on your contractual birthrights, on your contractual land, on your contractual non-consent jurisdiction, therefore, whatever they say, you said, or whatever they coerce you to say. See, we can't say no coercion didn't exist, okay? And for black people to assume he just admitted that without coercion is to be extremely ignorant. Because this whole system of trampling the Constitution and the whole justice system where 3 million blacks are in prison is all about coercion.
Despite incarceration, his teachings never ceased. From a maximum security prison, Dr. York remained spiritually active. Through letters and teachings, he encouraged resilience. His followers spread his work online, performed daily rituals, and preserved the sacred frequency of Nuobu. Today, Dr. York's teachings resonate globally. His legacy continues through study groups, online forums, and annual gatherings.
People can join our classes via YouTube, Clubhouse, or Zoom. 7 o'clock until 9:30 at Nashat.
Yeah, we do it every week. That's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to give you the information. So once you're connected with us, every Saturday, yeah. So if you just take a picture of that, because that's where we're going now. But when we do our events, we use Clubhouse and we use Zoom, so people all around the world can join in at the same time.
There's actually in our blood, originally, we had gold in our blood. You can find this in the movie, what's it called? There's a movie that they made.
Gods of Egypt.
Yeah, Gods of Egypt, right? Yeah, Gods of Egypt. They actually tell you in there that the ancient Egyptian gods had something called Math-Hu-Zat. Okay? Okay, they refer to as elixir. Right, so this is what they refer to as monatomic gold. That's another name for it, right? So this monatomic gold, our ancestors did have this in our DNA. All right, and it was this monatomic gold was made from 6 different elements. So this is a science that our ancestors were familiar with. So yeah, so you can actually research this and you can find out that it had certain elements, and these elements, when they were changed into their elements, into their monoatomic elements, yeah, it could actually change your ability to heal your DNA, repair your DNA, turn you into a craft, open up certain dimensions. And this is what was within our blood originally as non-ether or African beings. And then eventually, some extraterrestrials wanted this particular gold in their DNA. So what they were doing is they were actually kidnapping, stealing, abducting us, original people, to actually take and infuse their DNA with it so that they could have the same abilities as well. So this was actually going on thousands of years ago. And what took place is that that's why it's such an ancient science, is that when the Europeans found out about this, they were then started to actually dig out our ancestors from the tombs of the pharaohs, and they were actually grinding the bones of our ancestors and making it into elixir so they could drink.
During the 16th and 17th centuries, many Europeans, including kings, priests, and scientists, often consumed remedies containing human bones, blood, and fat as medicine. It was said to cure anything from headaches to epilepsy. Some of the most influential people from the Renaissance praised the use of mummies in medicine, including Francis Bacon, who said, "Mummy hath great force in stanching of blood." Shakespeare's son-in-law, the physician John Hall, treated a case of epilepsy by burning a mixture containing powdered mummy. Because of the belief human remains had healing properties, this led to mummies being stolen from Egyptian tombs, and Irish skulls were taken for burial sites.
What happened to them is that they went crazy because it's a different formula to their chemistry. And that's a lot of them ended up going crazy, etc., because they couldn't use it the way that we were using it naturally in our being. Okay, so this is something that extraterrestrials were actually looking for. This is something that extraterrestrials actually want, because they know that some of us still have it. And when a mother actually is with a child, she produces it naturally in her milk, and they refer to it as colostrum. Yeah, this is what a child gets. It's like literally like a thimbleful of milk, but it's very thick, and that has all the nutrients, proteins, antibodies, everything that's in that colostrum for the first, I think, week or two. And the child, when that child consumes that, actually protects their genes and their DNA from catching viruses, etc. So this is actually known as colostrum, so you can go and research that as well. But that's actually monatomic gold.
What do you guys think of tattoos?
Well, I got tattoos, but where it's supposed to happen, because it's really, you're polluting the body.
Okay.
Like all these different chemicals and stuff like that. Really supposed to, like,
yeah,
be cleaning oneself inside out, outside in.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, the master said I didn't even say don't get too much tattoos.
Yeah.
That was it. So
okay.
the whole thing of marking ourselves up and stuff like that, really you're going against nature, really. Even though quite a few of us, probably got tattoos. Yeah, I've got 3 tattoos myself.
Okay.
All ancient Kemet though. Egypt, that's bad thing.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be putting no Chinese stuff on my body, man.
Yeah.
So it's got to be elephant self-identity. So yeah, I've got Horus, Tutankhamun, and then Ma'at. My arms, yeah.
Though Tama're no longer stands physically, its essence thrives wherever truth seekers carry his vibration. Dr. Malachi Z. York is not merely a teacher. He is a master teacher, a beacon of divine wisdom, a messenger of cosmic law, and a voice for those ready to awaken. For those seeking truth beyond this world, his light still leads the way.
It says here, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things was made by him, and without him there was not anything made that was made. In him was the light, and the light was the light of man. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Why is it necessary to do all of that? Let me see what he was trying to say. There was a beginning, and there was a word spoken in that beginning, and that was God. And the word that was spoken was light, and the light made light. That's why it is man. Simple. Why does God study Shakespeare? Why does he have to emulate Shakespeare? Why is it that God does not want every individual to pick up this book and get a clear understanding of it? Why must we have people to come along and give us tafsir of the Quran, interpretations of things? Why isn't the Quran so clear that everybody that picks it up would understand it? The Quran tells you it has no intentions of being clear. It starts off Alif, Lam, Mim. 3 letters. Then it goes ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Sounds nice. Most of y'all are going, what is he saying? Let me tell you that most Arabic-speaking Muslims are also saying, what is it saying? And they say it in Salat, and they're still saying, because I did it for 50 years, not 50-40, before they click the light on. Said, what is it saying? So you go back and say, brother, what does alif, lam, mim mean? Those are three letters, A, L, and M. They're the initial letters of the Surah Al-Baqarah of the Quran. What do they mean? They'll say, nobody knows. Any ex-Muslims in it? Don't be ashamed to hide now. You know you are here. All I had to do is yell out Assalamu alaikum when I came in. Y'all said, what is on? When it came out in there, you wasn't in. Know it. They don't know what it means. Yet, the Muslim world will hold up the Quran and say, this is undisputed guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This, al-kitabu, book, la, no, rayba, doubt, fihi, in it. They literally open it with there's no doubt in it. And then when you ask them, what does those three letters mean, they say, I don't know. And somewhere along the line, they have not made the equation with I don't know and I wish I did know with doubt. What does that mean? It means that the initial writer knew that anybody who started after that and called it unquestionable or undoubted was a believer. Thus they call themselves mu'minun, or mu'minat, and mu'min. We are believers. The word mu'min doesn't even mean believe. Come on, amana meaning faith. And faith is damn near as bad as belief. But you still ask me to subscribe to something that's not been confirmed. You see that? But as we approach the time, or what they refer to as the information age, we are being informed by our beings or ancestors, or as I often would say, descendants, because they descended. They are triggering you now. They are opening you up where you have the ability to be prepared for their presence. Because in the state of mind that most Christians and Muslims are in, if Jesus came out the sky, they wouldn't know what the heck to do. They're waiting and they're saying, the reverend is saying, I'm telling y'all that Jesus is coming now, soon now. But if Jesus walked into their church, and it was an Ethiopian Baptist church, and Jesus had blonde hair and blue eyes, which is the kind of games that God likes to play, or walked in a white church and had a big old afro, which is the kind of games God likes to play. Whether you like it or not, we got away with games. We can go into God's games if you want to. What would happen if he walked into the church of the Black Madonna right now in Atlanta, and he had blonde hair and blue eyes and said, I am Jesus? They would throw him out the church. If he walked into a KKK church, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you know it's true. And had a big old boop-boopy-doo afro, big old Michael Jackson afro about there and said, I am Jesus, they would throw him out the church. Well, I think it's a little biased to say that they would crucify him in the KKK church, but they wouldn't crucify him in the Black Muslim church, because the Black Muslim church is equivalent to the KKK church. The same ignorance prevails. Whether you want to accept Farrakhan as the Grand Wizard or not is your business, but anybody with any intelligence see that he is just as dangerous as the Grand Wizard in a philosophy that teaches people to hate each other. When nature does not segregate in what I call God's games. The people right now in Canada that are buried under ice and living in shelters by the thousands are not really concerned with their religious doctrine or dogma right now. Most of them are concerned about heat and a sandwich. Some warm clothes and a place to sleep and a sandwich to eat. You follow? And they would share that sandwich with a white person, all black person, anybody would share, because nature, Reverend, nature is bringing the reality to us. Because nature doesn't segregate. Humankind is way past their limits on the planet. You are supposed to have been gone ever since you started taking needles or vaccines to survive. When you have to immune your body against nature, when a child gets all these vaccines, nature is basically saying, I want y'all out of here. I want y'all off my planet, out my house, because y'all are menace to each other, every animal, every tree. I want y'all out. So now when a baby's born, the doctors tell them, you must get at least 16 shots, I think we talked about before? Before you're 16 years old, or you have any of a number of diseases that would kill you. Who is providing these diseases? God. There'd be no diseases if God didn't want diseases. Are you hearing me? Now you say there'd be no AIDS if God didn't want it. We say, well, some men, they went into a laboratory and they experimented and they came up with this germ. Yeah, but God gave men the intellect to go into the laboratory, and God made those type of germs that could come together and be that deadly, and designated the time for it. You know how I know that? I know that because you believe in this Bible. And this Bible says, according to your belief, that the people in Sodom and Gomorrah were homosexuals. And they didn't die of AIDS. So what happened? God got a new idea? Blowing up homosexuals and destroying cities ain't good enough? So he came up with a bacteria? Why aren't you looking at it that way when they say AIDS is a homosexual disease? Fire is described as sulfur. Fire and brimstone. Go into the Greek and research. It uses the elements of the planet. And all of us are familiar with fire in its many forms. Right? Right. And oxygen is needed to keep it burning. Right. God speaks about rivers in heaven. Hydrogen and oxygen is in heaven. The tree in the garden, it had to grow before Adam met it. Now, did God come down with some angels and plant a full-grown tree in the garden for the sole purpose of testing Adam and Eve? Or did they plant seeds in the garden and wait for it to grow? Listen to me right now. God came down to earth where there was a garden and no tree. He plants a tree, nurtures the tree of good and evil, lets it grow, and then sends some innocent children he created who he knows don't have nothing inside their head, and lets them walk up into the tree, and a snake who he obviously created because he created. He had a snake waiting for him like this, who was the most subtle of all the beasts of the field. First of all, snakes are not beasts of the field, but anyway, let's just keep going on. The snake is around the tree waiting. Here comes young Eve. No offense to women, she was dumb in so far she didn't know anything. There wasn't nothing to know. Ain't nothing was here. Didn't know what was here. It's not an insult. It's like, you know, there's nothing. I'm open the book and ain't got. I can't learn nothing. So Eve is walking down the road, minding her business, and here a beast who this book describes. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Oh wait, I went over to Genesis 24. Boy, am I running. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, not created. And there's a difference in here. So this being was cunning. That's what subtle means. Manipulative, conniving, shrewd. Right? And then I send a little innocent girl. Because I'm assuming being Adam and Eve was just born. Unless we cue in on the age. You know what I'm saying? Being Adam and Eve was just born, they were coming to the garden with a big diaper on. And God had the Mac waiting next to the tree for them. The master con office was waiting next to the tree, and then comes Eve, and he goes, obviously, because he calls him the whisperer. He goes, and he goes, yes. Come here, let me tell you something. Let me see what he tells her. Here's what he said. Unto the woman, yea. As God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. That's what he said. Did God tell you not to eat of every tree? This is a tree God grew, y'all. Waited for it to grow. Then created the poor innocent woman, directed her intelligence towards the tree, while at the tree the devil was waiting for her, who was conniving, manipulative, and subtle. Okay, but this is what y'all want to believe. Show it. So let's see what happens. And the woman said unto the serpent, well, can I go backwards a little bit? Snakes do not talk. Hello, Rev. I have yet to meet a snake. I heard a parrot. I heard a parakeet say something. He can do it. God made it possible. God said pirates can learn to talk. But hell, there ain't a snake anywhere that has a voice box and can talk, all right? We got that first? Yeah. So, serpent is somebody's name. Like an old friend of mine from the Jitterbug name, we used to call him Snake. We said, what's up, Snake? Now, in the event that he got in the Bible, oh, he could talk. He could talk. He didn't talk very well, but he could, brother could talk. That's how he talked. So I don't think Eve even understood him. And the woman said unto the serpent, now she's talking back to a snake. Now, come on. You walk in the garden, see a snake around the tree, and the snake says, come here. And you gonna go, yes. You're talking about sending your children somewhere being unprepared. I can jump from the Old Testament to the New Testament and come up with the same kind of unprepared child of God. Because Jesus was like, oh my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass by me. I will now, I know what kind of Jew, but it was that. You know what he was talking about? He was talking about the crucifixion. Jesus did not want to die.